Okay, let us get started. Hey, wait. Come on. There we go. I am here now. I don't know why it takes quite so long to find my existence, but oh well. There we go. We are in. Now, let me fire this up. Hello, everyone, by the way. So today we are going to be playing some Headers Code by Miracle Moon, which is a game I have been looking forward to for a while. And there we go. It is picking it up now. It took a moment there for the system to pick it up on the screen. That is odd, but there we go. So, let me just check the options in case there's anything particularly obtuse. Slow text speed? No, normal. I have literally not turned this game on yet. I bought it on like Wednesday and was like, yeah, let's play it on stream. Let's see. Let's take the first steps together. So let me just very quickly move some stuff around so I can see what the hell is going on. And we shall begin. So if anyone's interested, by the way, this game is available on Steam, and as I say, developed and published by Miracle Moon, who I have played their previous game, Headers Code. This is Headers Code. I've played their previous game, Birth Me Code. Too much code. And enjoyed it very, very much. I have a review of it on my channel, which I say, great game. So I was really looking forward to this. It's a remake of their very first game, which I haven't played, so I'm going into this pretty much completely blind. So let's see how it goes. Darkness. More darkness. They say life begins with darkness and ends with darkness, I assume is what that said. I should probably not be clicking through so fast. That's probably way more philosophical than my situation was then, because my life had already begun many summers ago, and as far as I was aware, hadn't ended yet. Something else had to have been the cause of this darkness. Clearly, all of this was explained by the fact my eyes were simply closed. Well, duh. I dozed off earlier, and now I was waking up. That's all. Something did bother me about that predicament. The surface I was on wasn't a bed. While comfortable, it didn't feel like a bed. My eyes shot wide open at the realization I was on a couch. Sofa. Couch. British. It's a sofa. I sleep horribly on couches, which was why I made a point of never doing it if I could avoid it. Something very unusual must have happened for me to consider it. I mean, you're in a bar, friend. Like, I wouldn't be questioning why you're on a couch. sofa, whatever you want to call it. I missed some of that, didn't I? That's why I made a point of never doing something very unusual. Yes, no, I'm fine. I should be paying attention to what I'm actually reading. This is going a bit crazy. Let's turn that down just a little bit. From behind, I spied 3 people. They were discussing something with the utmost urgency. Their tones were hushed, as if they were trying to ensure they couldn't be overheard. Did I have any cause for concern? I mean, you probably should, man. No, that's too paranoid, even for me. I'd say that's about the right amount paranoid. They most likely just didn't want to wake me up. I had a feeling that was the case because one of them was Jasmine. It's highlighted in green, can I... No, that isn't a function, it's just text colouring, okay. And she had no reason to keep anything from me. Great, we've already got the very trustworthy, totally trustworthy person here. That's not going to come back to bite anyone at any point later, is it? Oh god, is this the point where I try to do a girl's voice? I have one female voice I can do for GMing, and it's not very good to start with, but here we go. We really have to go soon, so I'll keep watch over him if you both decide to go. You don't have to worry. Nothing bad will get through me. Then again, her words implied she was my jailer. I hadn't seen her face to face since maybe 4 years ago now. And you still trust her implicitly. Yeah, this is gonna go well. Truth be told, I missed the times we spent with her before. I spent with her before. I can read. This is really going... Sorry, I can just see my microphone going into the red there. I do not want to be blowing out anyone's eardrums. I'm hoping the volume is okay. I'm sure someone will tell me if it's not, but we'll find out. Truth be told, I missed the times I spent with her before. That's right, she's my childhood friend. Yeah, nothing more. Yeah. Totally. Except now, she lived on the other side of the country, unlike the boy next to her, who was named Marco. He lived much closer to me. We shared an apartment, after all. Yeah, that is closer. That is closer. Not gonna lie. Once again, we were friends. Nothing more. I don't know. Judging by what we've seen of the stuff in this place, do you really think that's safe for either you or him? He was in disagreement with her plan. His words, unlike Jasmine's, eased my mind about my predicament. She was not, in fact, my jailer. Honestly, though, I wouldn't have minded that. Okay. Whatever you're into, bro. Who I don't even remember your name yet. I've seen it in the advertising. I don't remember what it is. Wait, what did he mean by not safe? Where exactly were we? If I was here with Jasmine and him, it couldn't have been so bad, but I thought maybe I should ask him. Maybe he would have some answers for me, since he's pretty smart. Or would he make fun of me by turning it into a joke like he always did? At least I knew I could depend on him. After all, he's got a master's degree in some weird stuff that sounds like mathematics. I forget what it is, and obviously it's not that. I forgot what it was, and obviously it's not... as in it's not mathematics. And I wasn't awake enough to remember it. Instead, I tried to remember what could have brought us here. Were we in the landlord's office? Ugh, my head hurt so badly. I had issues remembering anything. Sounds like a hangover to me. I mean, just saying. Looking around once more, I noticed we were in some kind of bar. Or at least there was a counter. Some stills, yeah, hangover. Hangover, clearly. You just got drunk, and maybe there's some fighting going on outside. Who knows? Have you been to a... Well, to be fair, these days, if you've been to a pub, then what are you doing? Get back home. But, yeah, that wasn't the landlord's office. Again, I can read. The decoration could have used a little touch-up. This isn't ominous at all. There was a very strange painting on the wall. Yep. I didn't even read that, I just went straight to that. It looked like a cross with ominous words around it. It read, "You don't know what you have till it's gone." Missing an apostrophe. I'll try not to critique the grammar, but that one does annoy me. A chill ran up my spine as I read the words in my head. The entire place was giving me the creeps, now that I was awake to take it all in. Oh, the little boy woke up. Little boy. I looked at my body only to realise it wasn't little. I suppose if you've played any of the Zero Escape games, you'll know that that's not always something you should take for granted, that you're still who you think you are, but oh well. I was 24. That man, though, I didn't know who he was. He was much bigger than I was. Judging by the grey hair, he was in his 50s, perhaps? Hey, you can have grey hair before you're, like, in your 50s. Look at me. See? And, I mean, technically I'm in my 800s, but, you know. I'm also, like, in my 20s. Don't just assume. Don't just assume. There'll be lots of reasons for grey hair. Overwork, stress, you know? Why am I taking umbrage with this? I don't know. You're finally awake. Sorry, wrong words. You're finally awake. That solves our little problem. I hope we didn't wake you up. No, it's okay. Sign. Okay. I didn't sleep very well. It sure won't beat the bed you just got last month. And by the way, you still owe me for that, remember? This is the perfect time to be bringing things up like that. I mean, they're definitely not in the middle of a death game or anything like that. Why would I think that? It's definitely not like that. I absent-mindedly nodded, but Jasmine changed the topic. I was thankful for that, since I didn't want to be reminded about my debts right now. Anyway, Em and Ray came back from exploring a new area earlier while you were asleep. We should all probably head out and find a new place too. Some words she said didn't make sense. Em and Ray? I had to assume Marco was M and this guy was Ray, but why was Marco M? I was very lost, so I simply nodded, marking my confusion. Ah, yeah, a new place after heading out. Makes sense. Part of me wanted to believe this was a weird dream. It was probably the cowardly part of me. The same part was also telling me to not let them know I wasn't up to date with the recent events. Unfortunately, where others might have quieted that part, I listened to it. I always listened to it. I might have been a little on the nose to admit to myself how cowardly I was, but if there was one thing I couldn't hide from, it was that. I knew I was a coward, even if I didn't look the part. Yeah, we didn't find anything new. It makes me wonder if all this is just some kind of waste of time. We still don't have a single clue to the whereabouts of that 9th person. Whatever. The sooner we explore more, the sooner we'll be out of here. I'll take the punk with me again, and you can go with your girlfriend. Good for you? Girlfriend? Yeah, maybe this was a good choice to pick on Valentine's Day. Wait, I didn't know what happened before I slept, but I mean, I was not really opposed to it either, because she's cute, and what was I thinking? That man almost got me flustered there for a moment. It'd be far too embarrassing to reveal that I did have feelings for her. Kind of. No shit. Maybe. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, I actually was really, I couldn't tell. There was no way of hiding it anymore. I felt like an embarrassed, clueless teenager. Get a grip, Simon. I just had to say something before my cheeks got any redder. It's not like that at all. Yeah, real convincing. Are you letting his teasing get to you this much? Let's just take the train and go to a new station already. Unless you want to stick around here for a little bit. I took a sidelong glance to her and noticed she looked as rosy as I was. I didn't think it was fair for her to blame me if she was also embarrassed. A gentleman must always accept embarrassment on behalf of his lady, but not to put it up to her. Marco stayed quiet, apparently thinking about doing something horrible. I felt an incredible need to leave before he opened his big mouth again. Thankfully, I was saved by the imposing man. Cursed and saved by the same man in the span of 2 minutes. That ought to be some kind of record. Whatever. Listen. This guy needs a deep voice. I'll go ahead. When you're all done... No, that's way too silly. I'll go ahead, and when you're all done here, send the punk to me. Don't take too long. I hate wasting time. And I hate waiting even more. Ray left the lounging area. Lounge, surely. Okay. In the distance, I could hear the noise of his steps getting fainter and fainter. Some creaking revealed he was going down a flight of stairs. This Ray person didn't seem too friendly, so I took my mind off him by turning my attention back to Jasmine and Marco. The latter was a little deflated by what I assumed was Ray calling him punk over and over. Yeah, I can't wait for that. Sounds amazing. Woo! Hey, J and S, you sure you want to head out together? Either of you care to mix it up a little? Jasmine categorically shook her head. Nope. Well, I'll go wait down there too anyway. I'll take the side he didn't go to. When you're done, come down there, okay? And just like that, after a brief wave, he was gone too, leaving me with Marco. He looked back at me, uncertain of how to proceed. Don't make her wait too long, but we probably have a minute. I don't want to make Ray wait too long for sure. You heard him, right? That guy could destroy me with a well-placed punch. That would at least give me enough time to talk to Marco a little, if I wanted to die due to a horrible joke or two. Or, I guess I could also head out to join Jasmine right away. Do I need a quick tutorial? Sure, because that'll probably tell me something that's changed. Sometimes there will be moments for you to decide the order in which events happen. These numerous interactive segments will be called active searches, or AS for short. By making choices during these segments, you can have Simon look at something. You can also choose to talk to characters and get their input when available. These special choice icons will appear for those moments. The look icon will never progress the story, it's only used for supplementary information. However, you may need to select it to find a talk or use icon to progress. Both the talk and use icons, I assume, are used to progress the story in different ways. The talk icon can be necessary when talking to a character to trigger dialogue. The use icon will do what it says, it uses the object in question. Note how the talk icon does not necessarily progress the story, but use will always do so. So you never use anything without progressing. I guess that makes sense. I presume it's like opening doors and triggering puzzle pieces and things. So I guess that makes sense. Whereas I presume you can just talk to people and get the extra dialogue. Once you've selected anything in this playthrough, the game will save it. On any subsequent playthrough, they will show up as this to let you know you've already selected them. So we've already done it. Okay. Note that you may need to reselect some of them to progress, even if they show up as done. This is only an indication that you've read their text at least once before. This first AS is not complicated, as there are only two options. Either talk to Marco or look at and then use the stairs, which will continue the story. Most of them will have something to let you bypass them if you wish to merely skip them. Now, if you may miss bits of extra information if you choose to ignore these segments. They are mostly optional, so you don't lose much if you wish to skip them. With one exception. When Simon is within an escape room, the active searches are obligatory. You want to go through this tutorial again? You bet I do. I love repeating tutorials. I think we got that. Thanks. That was long enough. Oh, I see. I was expecting it to be like you can choose to go into a search mode and then click on things. Ah. Do we want to talk to him? Sure. Let's have a chat. Hey, M. Keep telling you, Marco's fine when nobody's around, Simon. Apparently, we're just using these nicknames in lieu of our real names, just so we don't. Honestly, I don't know. Jay came up with that. I'm just glad no one here has a name that starts with the same letter as mine, or it would be terribly awkward. Ah, yeah, that wasn't too smart. On the other hand, it could also be sweet, you know, like M and M. Oh. That took me a moment. That took me a moment. I shook my head. Oh. No, I didn't know, and I didn't want to know. Everything he touches turns into a joke. Kind of like Midas, who had the power to turn anything he touched into gold. I didn't want to be turned into a joke myself, so I saluted to part from him. Yeah, I should head out too. Ray will get there. I wondered why he was named Ray and not something like R, but that would be like admitting I was a lost little lamb, and that's really not cool. The last thing I wanted to do was to give him even more ammo for his stupid jokes. Oops. Oh well. That actually so. Marco went back to hanging around inside, so I left him. It wouldn't be a good idea for me to postpone joining Jasmine down the stairs, so I moved as if to leave the place. I'll see you later then. Remember, you owe me a pizza every week for the next 6 months. I'm not going to let go of it this time. Marco's words reminded me of something. I focused on that while grumbling some farewells back at him. From my uniform's side pocket, I pulled out a cap which I nervously adjusted back onto my head. I kept it stashed away whenever I could, but right now it might give me some courage. My boss wasn't here, thank God. If he saw me without the cap on, he'd probably give me a truckload of sweatpants. Normally I hated wearing the damn thing. In here, it was kind of comforting, at least a little. It was comforting because it was one of the few things that felt normal. I went down a flight of stairs, on the opposite side of the one that Ray took earlier. There was some kind of little lobby between the stairs and what was beyond. Stepping outside, I found myself in the last area I'd thought I'd emerge into. It was the metro. I was in the metro. It was the underground train stations, connecting sections of Montreal together through multiple coloured lines. The more I looked around the station, the more this didn't make any sense to me. I gave up trying to understand exactly where the hell I was, because no matter what station this was, I knew for a fact none of them had a spacious bar upstairs. I wouldn't be that surprised. I don't know. I've never been to Montreal, they said. That is... I'm not being completely stupid. That is Canada, right? I've never been to Canada, so I don't know what their underground is like. But... I'm used to London, where you just leave the station and go about 2 foot and you trip over a bar if you're in the city. I knew for a fact none of them had a spacious bar upstairs. At least, there was no open bar like that directly after taking the first flight of stairs. I mean, have you been to every station? That seems unlikely, but... okay. That didn't make any sense. Jasmine came out of nowhere, having patiently waited for me down here. Earlier, the others said they went out to the infirmary, so we're probably going past that now. Guess we got some time to kill before the train arrives, huh? Straight to the point, not even a hello. I assumed this place didn't really have her in a jolly mood. I was completely lost, so I just nodded. However, I had a feeling Jasmine had picked up on my confusion. Taking a glance to the other side of the station, I saw Marco and Ray in the distance. Well, like she said, we had some time to kill before the train arrived. I was curious about the place, but I could either look at stuff or talk to her. I'd probably need to talk to her sooner or later. It's just a question of when. It's too dark in there. I could barely make out some kind of weird metallic gate. If Jasmine wasn't going in, then I assumed it was locked. Searching it wouldn't help me in the least. Next to the little maintenance hall was a yellow stripe on the ground which stretched across the entire border of the station. Now down here. My camera is right in the way of that bit of the screen. Oh dear. Stretched across the entire border of the station. If I stepped beyond it, I'd fall down onto the rails. Those were the rails used to guide the trains around. They're pretty dangerous. A sign next to them said 750 volts. Yikes. Interesting fact, voltage doesn't really matter that much, it's the amplitude that matters, but yeah, that will probably still kill you if you fall on train tracks. Stay safe, kids. As if I've been anywhere near a train in a month. Yikes, if I touched that, it would kill me for sure. Danger. Staff only. That's what it said. That little maintenance hall was shrouded in darkness. That's where the staff usually went to fix all the subway's problems, whenever it had any. Unless we had some sort of key, we probably couldn't get back there. I'm slightly worried that this is drowning out my voice. The background noise. Background music, not noise. Hopefully that sounds fine. Yeah, that looks... unless we had some sort of key, we wouldn't get back there. Only maintenance dudes were allowed to go in, so I had no idea what was inside. That wasn't there the last time I came in here. But we just established... I'm not going to ask. All the screens used to be suspended, but this one was mounted on the wall with 4 mega-large screws behind it. Mega-large, eh? Well, that's pretty big. Pretty sizable. Oh dear. I'm still slightly confused by the last time, I assume he means last time he was in an actual station, but there we go. This one was mounted on the wall with 4 mega large screws behind it. Currently it was powered off. That TV was bigger than any other I'd ever seen. Clearly that must have cost a fortune. Marco would lose his mind if I brought something like that back home. Especially as it would be considered theft. What? On second thought, it was best to just not mess with it. Oh, you mean if you just took it off the wall? Right, okay. Funny, I didn't remember the walls being like that in any station I'd seen. I hadn't visited all of them though, so maybe that's just how this station was. Station walls certainly varied wildly depending on where you were at. Ugh. Some of them had brick walls, while others were tiled. Some were pristine, some were decorated with graffiti. Some of them were featureless, and some of them had ads all over the place. Most of them did, to be fair. There was the open doorway we used to access the metro too. The door was thick and heavy looking. It was a sliding door, so from here it looked like a solid block of metal embedded inside the wall. Well, I guess that's everything we can look at. You've been acting a bit lost. Are you sure you're all okay then? I didn't really know how to tell her. On one hand, I didn't want her to find out I had no clue about what was going on when they all clearly did. It would make me look like I didn't have my stuff together. On the other hand, I was at a severe disadvantage not understanding. Well, see, it's like that. I'm a little lost right now, to put it simply. Like, I just woke up, but I have no idea how I even got here. Luckily for me, Jasmine was a kind person who always had my back, and she listened. Finally understanding what nagged at me, she began explaining in vague terms. I think I know what you have right now, and that sounds like amnesia to me. It's probably super dangerous if I go too fast, due to how the memories are, like, locked right now or something. I'll just take it slowly then, assuming it's temporary. I guess I can explain the minimum to you, just so you know. Just so you know and understand enough, at least. If you say so. I don't really know how much... I don't know... Again, I can read. If you say so. I don't really know much about amnesia, but I still want to know what's going on. Where is this place? Who's Ray? Jasmine nodded. Comprehensively. Comprehensively? Can you say that? Understandingly, I assume is what they mean. We proceeded to move to a more open area of the station so she could tell me everything while we waited for the train. Alright, so listen closely here. You must have noticed we're in the metro, and you know this is the place that links all of Montreal together. I honestly don't know who Ray is, so I'll talk about what I know. There are 5 colour-themed lines, but you already know what. What's really important is the fact we're actually stuck here. There's no way out. We already tried to force doors open. No dice. Instead, as some weirdo with a mask told us, we had to play some kind of game. I felt a shiver run up my spine at that. It felt like one of those escape the room new age reality games. Escape the room. I'm just gonna put my jacket on. It's very cold. Not that you can see. Ugh. Magic of warming oneself up. Brilliant. How are you? It's very cold around here right now. The snow's gone at least, but you know, I'm just looking out my window and like, yeah, no more snow, but still bloody cold. I felt a shiver run up my spine at that. That's probably what put me in mind of it being cold. This felt a little like one of those escape the room new age reality games, except for the fact that we were clearly not paying to be entertained here. Most of all though, this place is really dangerous because we disobey the rules, well, we're going to die. Though I guess that weird man said it like, we'll get punished, but he did explain what that entailed. I swallowed. She had to be joking. Surely it wasn't real and someone was just toying around with us. It was then that I noticed the collar Jasmine was wearing around her neck. Come to think of it, Marco and Ray had also been wearing a collar like that, hadn't they? I didn't even need to check my own neck. I could feel one there too. I decided against touching it. It seemed dangerous somehow. We had to find someone with the number 9 to leave. It's a nonary game. Wait, no. So far, we aren't finding anything. No matter how much we explore. We're supposed to go to each station in a pair, you see, because I waited for her to continue, but it took a while, and as the seconds passed, I could tell she was trying to It felt like she was trying to stop herself from giggling. Because this is the dating game! Okay. I thought that was... I saw a little bit of... I saw a thing with dating game in it, in the advertising. I thought that was a joke. But happy Valentine's, everyone. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. We're playing the dating game. Pretty much all my fears left at this moment, and instead I was staring at her with the same irresistible desire to laugh. What the hell? The dating game? We're definitely being toyed with here. That's what I think. No. Just as suddenly as the mood shifted to something lighter, it reverted to something rather uncomfortable, as Jasmine stared at me, no longer amused. With the most serious tone in the world, she completed her thought. As ridiculous as the name is, someone might have died already. A glacial feeling spread through me from my feet, crawling upward, along my legs to latch onto my back. It was tightening my stomach, creating a knot in my throat. Wait, might? There's no way that's a joke, isn't it? And besides, might? So you aren't sure. Jasmine looked at me as seriously as she ever could be. It's not a joke, and about the uncertainty, it's complicated. But if what I saw was real, someone really died. So as funny as the name is, this is real. Don't start getting complacent on me. This is dangerous, so don't do anything to put yourself in danger. Okay? She looked discouraged at this point. Before she spoke more, a train arrived at our platform. I waited for a few seconds, looking at Jasmine, who looked back at me. Then I looked at the train again. The dating game, huh? That was a stupid name. And yet, as she walked forward and tugged me into the train, there was no avoiding it. I was going on a date with Jasmine there. Oh dear God. Okay, this is a date that could very well kill me. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I had absolutely no clue where we were going. I was having issues thinking about it due to, well, everything else. The situation was still alien. One thing was for sure. All I had been told was making me feel nauseous. Yet for all it was, I couldn't sit down. Normally, I would have. I just needed to do something in this familiar, yet unfamiliar place. A three-step ding-dong echoed, signalling the train was leaving the station. When it took off, I reflexively grabbed onto one of the beams for support. Crap. Those things were full of germs. Yeah, good joke to make right about now. Full of germs, full of germs. That was why I usually sat down. I had to wash my hands soon. Is that Prochaine? Prochaine, I would guess. Station. Sécurité. My French is the best. Don't worry. At least that was familiar. It was the announcer speaking as a lady's voice, whose entire job had been to record public service announcements for those who used the metro lines. They were in French because we're in Montreal, of course. Translated literally, it's just next station. Prochaine, then probably. I don't know. I haven't done French in years. Done French. I did it at school, is what I mean. So, that was a while back. I don't remember how to pronounce it all. Translated literally, it's just next station, with the name of the next station. However, the station wasn't named correctly. The messages must have been changed, but why? I mean, at this point, why are you asking these questions? But okay. Did they want to make it clear that we'd find what we'd find at each station? Or were they worried about copyright? Nah, it couldn't be that stupid. Pretty sure if it's a real place, you wouldn't have to worry about copyright, but maybe the devs did have to worry about it. I don't know. I don't know what Canadian copyright law is like, so maybe it is that strict. Since we had some time, I decided to strike up some conversation with Jasmine. Oh. Let's be friendly first. Like, we haven't seen her in what, 4 years, they say? Be friendly. Hey, Jazz. You should call me Jay here, just to be safe. I need to remember to do the right voices. Oh, right. Anyway, I meant to ask about how the job's going. My graphical designs, they're all going swimmingly. Sometimes I wonder if I should have studied further, though. Not that I can justify going back right now. I got a big client who wants me to make large nature landscapes, and it's really difficult. I'm not very good with the colours he's involving in it. And the general detail of it is like, whoa. Pay is probably good to offset that, though. I know you wouldn't take a job you didn't think you could do. Correct. I didn't know what to add to that, so I added nothing. Jasmine always had her shit together. A complete contrast with me. The train stopped at a station. Seeing as Jasmine wasn't moving to leave, I didn't either. I had to follow her lead, at least until I understood my predicament better. Instead, I took a seat on one of the various colourful benches scattered around. The last thing I wanted to happen was for her to think I was useless. I needed to rest to be in shape. You just woke up, dude. But I'd already rested on that couch, no? Unless I was carried there? Hey, what are you thinking about? Prochaine station... Laboratoire. The announcer cut her off rather rudely as the train set off again. I don't know. If anything's the matter, you can tell me. We're in this together. He flashed a smile. Yeah, she was dependable to a fault. Oh, so presumably it's going to only let me ask a number of questions. According to the name of the dating game, we were going on a date. Wait, what was I thinking? A date? In here? Once again, the feeling of nausea overcame me. Why wasn't I happy about that? Must have been because... Yes, it was a date, but considering the colours, the eeriness of the location, and everything else, it didn't feel like one. I mean... Again. No. Oh shit. I was just thinking how all of this is so weird. I still can't wrap my head around it. We're not really in the metro, are we? Well, so far it looks like we are. Whoever that smiley guy is, he seems able to remodel the stations on his own. I can't believe that. Smiley guy? I had to ask her about him. What about that guy then? Oh, he's kind of the mastermind behind all of this? I guess. He looked really weird, like some kind of cultist. Whatever we're in, it's not good. I mentally agreed. How did I even get into this mess anyway? I don't remember pissing off anyone important. I was just a guy who studied artistic stuff. Had I delivered the wrong pizzas to the wrong person? Pop over reactions? No, that didn't even make sense. You mentioned a cultist just now. Had I angered some kind of cult then? The chances of not only me, but also Jasmine and Marco having done it were slim. There was no way it had anything to do with Ray, was there? He was big and menacing. He had a physique that could let him move heavy objects around. If someone could have done all this, then that person had to be strong, or they had a lot of help. Before I could do anything else, we arrived at the laboratory. Jasmine shook her head when I rose up to my feet. This one's already done, so we don't need to go there. And the next one, that's the one some of the others chose to go to. Oh right, you don't know about them. I don't mean Em and Ray. We're 8 here in total. There was something that didn't feel right. The amount of people was 8. It wasn't that was nagging me. What was nagging at me was the train's trajectory. Prochaine station, infirmerie. I had to ask her about it, but first I wanted to catch up with her some more. It was, for all I knew, the only opportunity I might have had to do so in here. That sounds important. So, how are you feeling now that we're in the train? It seems like this whole thing is taking a big toll on you. I felt tired and slightly ill, and a headache was creeping up on me. With her trained eye, she could easily see that. It was the eye of an artist, because she was a graphics designer. Yeah, wherever we're going to be, I hope you don't mind if I rest there for a bit. If there's anywhere to rest in it. A vague memory came back up to me. I'd been in this train with Jasmine and Marco before. Right, I was taking it to go somewhere. Go home, was it? Thinking about it too much was making my head hurt, but I gave a real effort. Something about going home with the train, and I remembered, ugh. Okay, no more remembering. Pain was too much. My head was telling me no, I couldn't do that. Honestly, I wasn't about to argue with it. Arguing with your own head does sound like a bad idea. If you want, I can take care of what we'll have to do there by myself. No, it's okay. I just need to sit down a little, probably. Not for too long, though. I really didn't want to look useless. Not with her. I genuinely wanted her to think well of me. This whole thing was just one big obstacle to overcome. I brought everything back to my earlier thought, deciding that was enough for now. My available time before the train arrived at our destination was getting shorter and shorter. So couldn't we just ride the train all the way to the end? No, it's impossible, because the train seems to stop at a station we haven't cleared, and it doesn't move then. In short, when it stops and doesn't go off again, a group of 2 must leave the train. The next one's already taken. After that is ours. That was simple enough. You really knew everything that was going on. Oh. I was about to confront her about that, since it might give me an idea for how long this whole thing had been going on, but the train arrived at the station. I expected it to go off again this time, but contrary to what she said, the next station was not our stop. The train didn't move to leave. I had a bad feeling about this. Seeing as this was apparently our destination, though, we both left the train momentarily. It looks like the station is actually free to explore. Is that a problem? Now that I asked, I remembered what she said earlier about the others. She took the lead, stepping further ahead of me, close to the door frame. Yeah, that's really weird because the others went here. 2 of them did, an older guy and some really weird girl with a mask and headphones. Hey, anyone there? Jasmine called out of the station, but there was no reply. My stomach tightened as a flash of a thought went through my head. Jasmine said, someone died already. Could it be? The others also? No way. They'd be fine too. Sure. I shook my head to get out of that stupor. Looks like there's no one, so... The train had already gone, and the only way back was to cross the rails to take a train from the other side, but the rails were definitely too dangerous to cross. Giving a glance over there, I noticed it. The indication. 750 volts. That's the voltage going through those rails at all times. If we touched them, we were toast. Not to mention, crossing was dangerous because what if a train was coming? A much safer alternative was to go up the stairs, cross to the other side using the station above, and come back down here. I was going to suggest it, but Jasmine had things to tell me. Looks like this is where we're going. I could have sworn the others were here, but the door is open, which means they either solved this place already, or they didn't come here at all. And if they solved this place, then the train should have left earlier with us inside it. Which means this is ours to deal with. Do you feel okay now? Yeah, I can handle myself. Okay, good. Upstairs, we're gonna have to solve some stuff. All the places here are kind of like escape rooms. You know what those are, right? Yeah. I'll take care of most of it since you're still, not entirely caught up. But I might need help. Sure. Hey, how do I ask this? There's no time limit or anything, right? Nope. We could take a week and we'd be fine, but we might need to eat and drink, so I guess our time limit is our biological functions. Say, you know a whole lot about this place, Jazz. I changed the topic to something that had been bothering me. You looked at me with a smile and a wink. Oops. Oh, I'm just perceptive, that's all. And besides, it's been a few stations already, so I'm getting the hang of it. But you should probably call me Jay here, so people don't figure out our names. I don't know how much Smiley can hear us here. I don't want to leave him anything compromising if he just took us at random. Smiley, is that right? As much as I'd like to ask you about him, you probably don't know any more than I do, huh? She nodded and walked into the open staircase. I followed along, though when I entered, I stopped there for a bit. There was a good reason for that. The staircase was the same as the lounge, but when I entered, the door had closed behind me. It shut off our way back out. I took a glance over towards Jasmine, but she'd already gone up the stairs. Hey, come up too! Yeah, coming. Well, we didn't have a time limit. I couldn't stay down here and be left behind. Once again, the thought that I didn't want to appear useless came over me. That's right. I had to join in the search of this place. With only one way to go forward, I took the stairs. Arriving at the top, I saw what she'd meant much earlier. I remembered the station as being a completely different station. Inside it was actually an infirmary. I was a little surprised by that. Perhaps I hadn't believed what the announcer told us before. Oh, there you are. This room has a lot of weird stuff. It's not weird, Jay. You haven't been in an infirmary before, have you? I don't think so, no. I already searched those drawers over there. I remembered that I needed to wash my hands. After touching stuff in the train, I really needed a good rinse. There was a sink next to the counter, so I made a beeline for it. You know, that makes sense. I should have cleaned my hands too. You didn't? It's definitely a sin in one of our existing religions, I'm sure. Not washing your hands after going on a train? Doubt it. Hey, hold up. I was going to do so, now that you reminded me of it. I'm not a heathen or anything. You'd better repent, that's all. That's right. I just meant to tease her, but I didn't know if she took it that way. Not too far. Not too far, there was some sort of bed. It looked comfortable. Hey, you don't mind if I take a nap, right? It'll be quick, just a few minutes. Not really. I'll go search elsewhere in this place for a while then and come back here later. I'll holler if something's wrong. Like if some slime monster crawls out of the sink now that I woke it up by running the faucet. Oh, that's just ridiculous now. And yet, she moved away. Did I finally get back at her? I didn't know. But one thing I knew, this bed was going to give me a good nap. Maybe that's why I didn't sleep on couches too. No matter how comfortable they were. When I woke up, I always felt like shit. This rest was just what I needed. Now, lying on the bed, I closed my eyes and drifted off. Yeah, great idea. Go to sleep in the weird, creepy room that you just stumbled into. But the more I tried to sleep, the more I couldn't. The bed was remarkably uncomfortable. I didn't notice it until I was on it, but it was kind of hard. Like if it had seen countless use and hardened with time. Probably used for short examinations. Go figure, we were in an infirmary and not a luxurious hotel suite. I rose back up while grumbling some profanities. All in all, the entire process had taken a few minutes. I wondered what Jasmine was doing now, but since she wasn't around, I didn't feel the need to call for her yet. Wait, maybe if I searched around that might be helpful. Yeah, this was a fairly spacious room after all. Jasmine wouldn't have to do everything by herself. And then she'd be grateful and it would be a successful date. That was probably just wishful thinking. I didn't think I could ever get to her level. Slapping my cheeks with both hands, I woke myself up. Alright, Simon, now's the time. It's time to search the shit out of this place and call for help. Okay. This handrail had some screws. I wonder if I could somehow take them off. This bed was a bad bed. That was really all I had to say about it. This poster was made of crude drawings depicting weird things about the eye and the brain. It was written in a language I didn't understand. Or maybe it was just too complicated for me. Whoever drew this had no artistic talents whatsoever. Hey! I mean, yes, but... The fan was turned off, making this room a little hotter than it should have been. I could have thought it was something cheesy like it's hotter because Jasmine was here, but I didn't. Wait, damn. I thought it up in the end since I had to think it up to point out I didn't. Even if I could take off the grating the blades, which I couldn't, I wouldn't fit in there. Neither would Jasmine, most likely as a result of all the cake she loved to eat so much. Wow. Someday I needed to tell her to lay off eating more since it just made her butt bigger. Real classy, man. Real classy. I figured some people might think that's a good thing, but her health's on the line here. It was just a sink with cleaning supplies underneath it. Nothing worth noting. So worth noting, you're letting me look at it again. It was still just a sink. It even worked correctly. Both faucets made water flow, but it was still a sink and nothing else. It was so shiny though. I could see my face reflected in the sink. This was a marvellous sink. I was lost in my own image. Time passed and I didn't feel it. All I could see was the sink. All there was in this world was the sink. Praise be to the sink. Wait, what the hell? For a moment I felt that my existence was slipping away. One of God's commandments was to not worship false deities. In that moment I decided to take that advice and get back to the search. Okay guys, oh, I have a map. I hadn't even noticed. Interesting. Three shelves were mounted above the surface of the counter. I didn't know if anything on them would be useful. There were some glasses, a radio for some reason, pill bottles, a box. Nothing I could really combine or use in any way. This escape room sucked. Even if we weren't timed, I still felt as though I wasted some time with this sign. Also, it made me wonder about the purpose to all this. This was called the dating game. Why would they put us in a room that encouraged us to split up? Wouldn't the idea be that we'd cooperate by doing something together? I shook my head, back to the search. This cupboard was locked. No, wait, only one of the doors was locked. The other opened after I messed with it a little bit. Inside was just a coin, nothing big. The coin itself was a little bigger than a $2 coin. It was large. On it was a large engraved 8. Was it worth $8? No way. Coins are worth up to 2, not 8. Still, it seemed useful for something or other, so I pocketed it. Aha! The 8 coin I found earlier unscrewed the screws, preventing me from getting screwed out of whatever it hid. Inside one of the ends was a small USB stick. It was probably safe to call Jasmine over since I found something important. I could also take a look around the room some more if I really wanted. I wondered why this was called a cupboard. Was it because people first put cups inside of them? Yes. Yes, it does come from cupboard, funnily enough. But that's not a board, that's a box. Wouldn't you actually call them cup boxes? The surface of the counter was so shiny. This had been cleaned with the utmost precision. Too bad there was nothing else of interest there. I guess we have to call Jasmine over. Hey, Jay! How fareth thine searcheth? I heard some rustling from a nearby area. Soon enough, Jasmine wandered back into this section, clutching in her hand a key. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? I hold in mine grasp an object of value with which thine heart I may unlock so. Hey, whoa, you're Jasmine, not Juliet. A whole new world. What? With her fists pushed into her hips, looking annoyed, she stared at me like I just ruined a joke. Remember what I said about the nicknames? Oh shit, she was right. Okay. You're Jay, not Jay. Get it? Because they begin the same way. And you're not Romeo at all either. I bet he'd have swept me right off my feet. I cleared my throat while she moved again, this time looking for something on one of the cupboard doors. Perhaps I could have swept her off her feet, but only in the metaphorical sense. Looking for something? I'd just finished looking all around this place. Yeah, a lock. I think I found it. And she inserted the key into it. Ah, that was the other cupboard door, presumably. Turning it, she opened the cupboard, taking out a strange tablet. She looked behind it. There's something there. I could probably get it by breaking this thing in half, but we might need it later. Oh, it's got a touch screen. I wonder if I touched it, but it didn't light up. Jasmine and I examined the side, and I figured it needed the USB stick I found on the wall. After plugging it in, I tried my earlier maneuver again. The screen lit up with contact, surprising Jasmine. Oh yeah, it's opening, but the slot in the back didn't though. Only the electronics are booting up. Damn. Pretty ladies such as thou shouldn't utter these vile vociferation. Oh dear, here we go. You know, adding the end of a word doesn't automatically make it correct Old English. Here. Yuck. What is this onomatopoeia? What is this noise? Yuck. She completely disregarded the rest of what I said. Keep your eye on the prize, S. I couldn't see what she was staring at, since she had the screen of the tablet aimed at herself. From what I could see of her expression, she was very puzzled. What is it? Kind of like a puzzle, I guess? I can't make heads or tails of it. There are 3 numbers. 2 of them aren't set, and the middle one is static. In the middle is the number 9, and both numbers on the sides have an arrow pointing towards it. Give me a picture, damn it! I can change the numbers on the sides, but not the middle one. I thought I had to make the number 9 by combining 2 numbers, but that's wrong. Do you think we absolutely have to do it? We probably have to. The rooms have these silly puzzles sometimes. What's inside the tablet will probably help us. Maybe we'll even get the code for the keypads leading back out. She tried again and again, but she only got frustrated with it. Ugh. We have a shot at it if you want. Finally, I can actually see what this puzzle is. Left the tablet on the counter and stormed off. Maybe deep inside she had the same worry as me about looking useless. I plucked the tablet and looked at it. There were 3 numbers which reminded me of an analog clock, but other than that, there was another detail that was weird. The leftmost number was blue, the rightmost number was red, and the one in the middle was just kind of weird. The upper, middle, bottom, and lower right lines were purple, while the others were blue and red too. She totally didn't mention that. Maybe she thought it wasn't important. I could tell the middle number was 9, though. I tried the same she thing. cheated. No dice. Surely the colours were important then. Oh. The areas were purple because it was blue laid over red. So that meant the numbers I had to enter were 5 and 3, blue and red respectively. Oh, you didn't even let me solve it? Come on. Really? Let me do something other than clicking on things. Let me solve something. She came back just as I opened the back slot. Inside was a piece of paper with a bunch of incomprehensible scribbles. Oh, that's exactly what I need. Something stumped me over there too. Give me that. Without waiting for any sort of objections, she snatched it from me. I set the tablet aside now that it had apparently done what it was meant to. I'll be right back. I think we're almost out of here. I patiently waited. After I took a seat and several moments passed, Jasmine came back, wearing a bright and brimming smile. Yep, the whole thing is open now. The whole thing. I unlocked all the doors. I also found something else. Some kind of remote with no purpose here. But, it's the kind of thing I think we should share with the others, so I'll show you at the lounge. Alright, if you say so. I set off towards the set of doors, but Jasmine stopped me with a hand around her wrist. Wait, before we leave, I have to show you something. I would wait until your amnesia's gone, but it's kind of really important, so I can't leave it up to chance. You looked fairly worried. I had no choice. My curiosity was piqued anyway. He led me to a room that had previously been locked off. It was somewhat featureless, except for the clear indicators that it was a one-way deal. Or perhaps it was just supposed to tell us to stop. I was about to walk in when Jasmine shook her head, keeping a tight hold of her arm. See these scanners? Apparently they check if we have the 9th person with us. That's who we're trying to find, by the way. We need to find the 9th person to leave. Otherwise... Jasmine dragged her finger across her neck in a motion that left little to the imagination. Yeah, okay, I get you. But what now then? If this isn't where we have to go. Now, we're going back to the lounge. See, we can't go to these stations with more than 2 people at once, but we can for the lounge. It's a bit like our base of operations. More information. My head hurt again, as if it was trying to remember something. Seeing as she was walking again, I followed after her. We went back down the stairs, but this time we were on the other side of the station below. The reason was simple. We were going back, not forward. It took very little time. The train arrived. We boarded in silence, even if I could tell Jasmine looked at me from time to time, worried over my amnesia. This time, she didn't say a word, though. Just like she said. If all my memories came back at once, it would be pretty painful, especially if I'd built new ones. It was better to not force it. Just like before, the train drove through each station. I'd just like to stop and say that first escape room was a bit, just click on things in order. They didn't even let us solve the puzzle at the end. Hey, come on. I could at least have been... I'm still slightly confused though, because... Oh, I see. It's like you got to match. Yeah, that makes sense. You'd end up with 5, then 3, and then you'd have match segments. So you're matching it to the 9 in the middle. You're not creating a 9 in the middle. I was thinking like you create the 9 in the middle and have to get all the segments to be purple or something. But you just need to match it to what's already there. But yeah, like just have a little thing for us to play around and enter different numbers on and try things. Like, don't have them solve it for us. Come on. The cycle repeated a few times until we arrived all the way back at the lounge. I'm hoping the later puzzles will be like things we actually get to do. Is what I think I'm saying. As the announcer had said its name, I now knew this was the leisure or lounge station, which, according to Jasmine, replaced the one at the centre between all coloured lines. Or most of them, at least. I still couldn't wrap my head around how this huge, sprawling, very populated station could be a lounge now. Did Smiley pull some strings so nobody would be allowed to use the metro at all during this stay? Or maybe this was happening during the night, since every day the metro stopped running for a couple of hours for maintenance, They'd still need to renovate this whole place. Time to go. Jasmine's words took me out of my thoughts, and I left the train alongside her. If we didn't leave now, it would drive off again. I hope the others came back too. If not, well, we'll just figure out what we'll do then. We'll have the lounge just for ourselves. Let's go. I wasn't sure if that was good or bad. I mean, of course it was good. Really great even, but it had been 4 years since I saw her. Being with her like this made me feel lightheaded. If it wasn't for this weird staircase, if it wasn't for the infirmary, if it wasn't for the lounge, if it wasn't for all those weird things, it would just be us walking together, taking the train, going to places and hanging out. This headache was growing worse and worse. I was probably on the cusp of remembering something about this situation. I held my forehead with a hand. There was no hiding it from Jasmine. She came by me with this big smile on her face. She meant to be reassuring, but I could tell she was a little worried too. Still, it was the thought that was important. No one here. At any rate, I'll go back downstairs to wait for them. Go ahead and have a real lie down this time if you want. No one's going to bother you. They won't get through me. Once again, she flashed me a smile, but once again, I was putty in her hands. Oh, Jasmine. I awkwardly rubbed the back of my head, embarrassed that I had to rely on other people so much. The most cowardly part about this was how I wanted her to stay here too, but I couldn't bring myself to ask her, and I instead went with what she suggested. This was probably why I was still single. Always running away. Always uncertain about what I wanted to do. This job I had, these studies I went through, they were all because I wasn't sure. I took up artistic studies because Jasmine went for them. I studied with her abroad because she decided to do it, and I didn't want to let her go again. Go alone. I didn't want to let go of her. When she finished and decided to start working, I moved back and studied more, frozen in my indecision. I couldn't go with the kind of job she was doing. I hadn't been convinced it was correct back then, and that had caused me to let go of her completely as I moved back to Montreal from Vancouver. Because I couldn't move forward, it cost me Jasmine 4 years ago. Of course, now I regret everything, and now, at least she was right here. I could finally right the wrongs of my past. Well, okay then. I'll see you in a bit. Once all was said and done, she left the area, and I was free to snore away. That's what I would have liked to happen at least. The muffled sound I heard coming from the station wouldn't allow it. I fell off the couch I'd been sitting on and scrambled to my feet in panic. What was that noise? It was a little like, kind of reminding me of a gunshot. I had a sudden thought for Jasmine. She was downstairs, right? Quickly I went there, running down the stairs faster than I'd ever done. I almost tripped on the way. I looked out the open doorway and the train was driving away. I only just caught a glimpse of someone inside it, but I couldn't tell who it was. All I saw was a flash of cyan. Whoever that person was, they fired a shot. Was it a warning shot or something worse? My mind was swimming with awful possible scenarios. I mentally cursed myself. No one could imagine the worst until I'd seen it. No, I couldn't imagine the worst until I'd seen it. Until then, it wasn't the worst. Life has a way of robbing you of hope the moment you think you have it. Once the train drove off, I could see something odd. Something that didn't belong. Out from the darkness of the little passageway I saw a pair of legs. Purple tights. Those were purple tights. Jasmine? No answer. At this point, I cared little for the latter nicknames. Jazz? Is that you? Someone was here. Still no answer. At first, I thought it would suck if Jasmine had been the one who'd fired the gun. That meant maybe she could have been in the train. Maybe she would have been fine. Then again, maybe she was. Part of me thought perhaps she just knocked herself out by dodging the shot, or maybe she was playing dead until the gun wielder had gone. I couldn't be sure until I took a closer look. It took all of my willpower to gather up my courage for this, to look reality in the face. Jasmine, answer me already. I shakily approached her, and then I knelt down in the dark area to stare down at her and see for myself how she was. She'd be okay, right? Just as quickly I stumbled backwards until my body hit the large screen. I fell over in surprise, only to get back up, unable to believe it. That grim fucking sight was unmistakable. Now I was confronted with the worst case scenario I imagined. Jasmine, you're... She was dead. She was dead. Jasmine, bright, vivacious girl I'd known since childhood, was dead. Both of my hands held my face in the shock of the moment. I couldn't scream. I tried, but nothing would come out. The realization was far harsher than I could have ever imagined. I didn't want to face the truth anymore. A lie was better. I wanted to run away, but I was frozen there. I just couldn't move even if, deep inside, I wanted to run away from this reality. What I was seeing was real, right? Jasmine was dead. Jasmine was dead, and I wouldn't see her again. Jasmine was dead, and I wouldn't hear her speak again. To top it all off, her killer was on the loose. I kept repeating it in my head. I couldn't believe it. I finally moved, but it was all pointless. I balled my hands in fists, then relaxed them. I was trembling. I had no tears, no matter how much I tried to cry. I couldn't shed a single one. I was in shock, unable to breathe. I was too horrified by the truth, terrified by it. So terrified, coward through and through. At that moment, I remembered she'd mentioned something about a remote, but there'd been nothing like that on her when I checked her. Had it been taken away by the person who shot her square in the head? Was that the reason behind her murder? That stupid remote? I had no clue what was going on. I couldn't even fathom what happened. Perhaps, due to my amnesia, I'd forgotten something important. I'd forgotten who the culprit might have been. Important clues. I needed to remember them. Maybe things would be clearer when I got my memory back. Maybe Jasmine wouldn't be dead, and maybe this was just a nightmare, and maybe... It said, don't know what you have until it's gone. I felt a chill run up my spine, as that message had been aimed at me. No wonder the words had felt so ominous earlier. If I remembered, maybe I could figure it out and make them pay. Would that bring her back? No. But, all of a sudden, as I contemplated those words, an earthquake took place, shaking the room. I quickly lost my footing. Ah, what's happening? What the hell? I managed to catch myself as I fell, only to roll over under the continued movement. I slammed into a wall and gave a small scream of pain. Perhaps as a result of the shock and the hit on my head, that was what triggered my memory to come back. It all came back at once, leaving me breathless for several moments. All of this because right here in the metro. Began right here in the metro. My vision was filled with 4 colours. Blue, orange, green and yellow. All I could see. There was also black, but black might really just be the absence of colour. Or all colours at once. Well, no. Well, I suppose it depends whether you're doing light or computer graphics, actually. So yes, fair enough. Some colours were missing, so it wasn't a rainbow. I was just staring blankly. My eyes followed the coloured lines slowly. First the green, and I followed the blue. Yellow. The yellow's very short. And finally the orange one. That was the one I was on. All I could see were those 4 colours. That was because my eyes were fixated upon the poster in the train. I didn't know why I was looking at it. I'd been spacing out. Now I was back to reality, though. What was that weird dream just now? It was so strange. I was in the metro, and no, I couldn't remember already. It wasn't important then. I tried to remember why I'd been looking at the map. I was taking the train with Marco. I was looking at the map to the metro because I hadn't taken it this far before. I didn't want to miss our stop. I was going to fetch her at the airport and... No, wait, I was coming back from there. as evidenced by the fact Jasmine was already here. She flew all the way from Vancouver, where she lived as a graphics designer. She and I had gone through school together up to college. We took the same course at the Artistic Institute of Vancouver, and then we went our own separate ways. While I came back home to study further by taking courses at the University of Montreal, she remained there. That meant she and I hadn't seen each other for years. As for Marco, he'd never met her, obviously. Not face to face anyway. I mentioned her a few times, which always made him crack some horrible, stupid joke. This was their first time talking together. At least, it was their first time sharing space together, because nobody out of the three of us was saying anything. Naturally, this was on the metro, so people were quiet. Having been on the London Underground many times, it's variable. Go there on an evening, well, at the moment, obviously not, but coming home, has anyone ever seen a fight happen on the metro, on the Underground? It's weird. Especially because you've got all these Londoners, well, at least in London, you've got all the Londoners sort of trying to ignore it very professionally. Just that stare ahead until it's like, oh no, there are actually fists flying, we should probably intervene. And, stop these two random people who are probably drunk, let's be honest, they're probably drunk if they're fighting on the Underground. I've only seen that a couple of times, but it's always kind of anytime anyone's making much noise on the trains, it's always a bit. We shall be Londoners. We shall ignore them. We are very good at that. If we'd said anything, we'd be drowned out by the noise coming from the metro moving. Now that is another problem. Even listening to music, it's like the screech of the trains can be so loud. Some people didn't care, though, such as a group of 5 teens close by. If I strained my ear, I could almost make out what they were saying. Shooting a glance at them, I saw one of them had long pink hair and 2 pigtails. I looked back at Jasmine, who had the same hair colour. Of course, those weren't natural, it was just dye. You could tell Jasmine's real hair colour was brown, since her eyebrows were that colour, and she didn't dye those. I kind of liked her better with brown hair, personally. Colours again. My thoughts were back on the subject of colours. Maybe I'd just turned into a zombie from waiting in the metro this long. The announcer spoke the name of the station we were at, but it wasn't our stop. I dismissed it, pulling myself to the side a little to avoid a woman leaving the train. Right afterwards, 2 men entered and took her place. Both were businessmen, who probably had a lot of success, judging by their very stern allure. Meanwhile, I was just a pizza delivery man. I was also a student, but that wasn't quite true. While that had been the case before 3 PM today, now I was entirely free from university. Assuming I passed my exams, anyway. Finally, I'd have my bachelor's degree and I'd start getting real jobs in what I wanted to do instead of this service for ingrates. But don't hate on delivery people. Especially not at the moment. The idea did make me quite giddy, and it was the reason why Jasmine was here too. Tonight, we were going to party, because not only did I finish my exams, but so did Marco. That meant we potentially had a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in the same apartment. Thought it was going to say department. Granted, mine was in fine arts, and his degree was in some science thing I never understood. I picked up some party games we could play on Nimbus, the multi-platform game store. I was expecting a Nintendo pun there, but okay. However, that would be a hit. Hopefully that would be a hit, even. The real hit was not having any more stress from dealing with exams, tests, and homework. God, that is a faint memory for me. I was now my own man. That thought was reassuring me, because I wasn't the strongest guy at heart. Could you believe it? 24 years old, and I still felt like an insecure teenager. That never stops, don't worry. I pressed my hand against my cheek, dragging it down a little while exhaling. Some girl further down the train looked at me strangely. She had no idea of what I truly felt. No? Sometimes it changes the background and it lags a bit. And that keeps throwing me and thinking I accidentally skipped a text box or something. Um, Once again, the train stopped. It did that every few minutes, depending on how far apart the stations were. Walking from one to the other would take ages, so this was great, but this place was always so damn cramped. The woman leaving earlier had left some vacant space, but since she was replaced by two men, not much came from it. Normally I was sitting and it was a lot more relaxing, but now I was on my 2 feet. I was also holding onto the pole in the middle to keep my balance. I hated that. God. Try going into London on the Underground during rush hour. It is... Sardines does not do it justice. I normally take an overground train myself, but like... I mean, that's usually fine. That's usually... You can get a seat if you know where to stand on the platform. But when I have to take the Underground occasionally, when there's a problem on one of the lines, it is literally sardines in a tin in only times 10. When the doors open and everyone just sort of bursts out in a flood onto the platform. I was also holding this thing was. I was also holding onto the pole in the middle to keep my balance. I hated that. This thing was covered in germs, so you're one of them. I needed to wash my hands soon. At least things got better not long ago when everyone finally realised it was a good idea to disinfect. Some people were even rocking the face masks still. I'm going to assume this is taking place after then, even though the... I think I mentioned this right at the start, but if you don't know, this is like a remake of Miracle Moon's first game, which I don't remember when that came out, but I think it would have been... Because Birth Me Code came out early last year, so it must have been before the pandemic. Dangerous word to say on YouTube. So I assume they updated this. I did notice like this person has a mask on and this person has a mask on. I was like, have they updated that? Presumably so. Yeah, it's the danger of writing things in the near future. If something big comes along, then oh god, I was watching some old videos on YouTube recently, and it's like you got the people like sitting next to each other, and it looks so weird. And like occasionally, like someone hugs someone else, and you're like, you can't do that. You're not allowed to. Oh dear. Some people were even rocking the face masks still. It'd been over a year since that stuff ended, though. Okay, so this is like 2022, I'm guessing? 2023, maybe? I should probably have... Well, that was one of the options earlier to ask Jasmine about the current year. But who knows? We'll find out at some point exactly what year it is, I'm sure. So many topics were flying through my head. Was I really no longer stressed out? I didn't know, to be honest, but luck had it that this stop had an elderly woman walking out of the train. It had been occupied before, and now it was vacant. As usual, some kind of psychological warfare was instantly triggered. Everyone would be going for that seat. Of course, those who needed it had priority. Thankfully, I was the closest seat, so I took a quick glance to see if anyone who needed it was going to take it. The coast was seemingly clear. The businessmen were looking at their folders and exchanging hushed words. The group of teens from earlier were on the other side, so them coming here was just a pipe dream. They wouldn't go for it. It was too far. This is realistic. As a gentleman, of course, one always has to be one of the last to go for it. So you have to get quite lucky if you want to grab the odd open seat. Lucky in the sense of there not being anyone that one feels should have it over you. A bunch of people didn't even notice, so they were out of the match as well. I noticed all of that very quickly. It was stupid how my attention processed all those details so well in moments like these, but not during my exams. Ultimately, sitting down was meaningless. Sitting is meaningless. I knew that. Yet I took the seat anyway, before anyone else could. Deep inside, I was triumphant. It was a hollow victory, but a victory nonetheless. You had to take them where you could get them. I could tell I won something or another when Marco took a glance at me, as he apparently had been pining for the seat too. Better luck next time, buddy. Simon 1, Marco 0. Still, we were a ways away from home, which meant the battle I won didn't win me the war yet. While we got to each station very quickly, we had a number of them between now and then. I looked at the clock to ascertain the time, since I'd left as soon as my exams had been over. It was 5 p.m. I still couldn't believe it took around 2 hours to head to the airport, pick up Jasmine, and come back with public transport. It's not that unbelievable. Like, a lot of airports are in like really inconvenient places, I find. Like the ones in London, like if you're in like even London City from the city is like I don't know, it must be like 40 minutes. Like from the actual city of London, and then like if you want to go to any of the other London airports, it's like they're not even in London, most of them. I don't know why they're called like London Gatwick is not anywhere inside London by any stretch of the imagination. It's like halfway into Sussex. Must be Sussex. But yeah. Like, yeah, some of them are in really inconvenient places, especially if you're in like a big city. Well, yeah, if you're in London, then that's definitely a big city. Pick up Jasmine and come back with public transport. It might have been faster had I possessed my own car, but I wasn't that lucky. I could barely afford my studies. Still, since we were a decent way off, I figured it wouldn't be hard if I took a small bit of rest. Nothing fancy, just closing my eyes. Nothing fancy, really. It was as normal a situation as they came, yet this was still how all of this business started. On April 22nd, 2022. 2022. They're a bit optimistic about all this ending soon. I was sitting in the metro, minding my own business. Nothing fancy. Yet when I closed my eyes, all movement ceased. The train stopped moving completely. I didn't feel the presence of anyone around me anymore. It was like time stood still, or maybe I was asleep. That was the likeliest explanation. I must have been really tired. But as I was drifting off, something grabbed me back. It was a voice. A girl was talking. I'd never heard that voice before, though. Was it the train announcer? No, that was an older lady. This one was a youthful voice. Who was it? I could barely hear it. She repeated herself, louder this time. Listen, if you stay asleep like that, we're going to be in trouble. Sleep? I wasn't asleep. I could hear what she was saying. Couldn't she see that? My body felt like lead anyway. I couldn't stand up just yet. So, wake up already. Are you okay? The train stopped. He was insistent, too. Who was this girl? I'd never heard this voice before. The seconds passed, and my body became operational again. I felt stiff all over, as if I'd been deep in sleep. Perhaps she was right. Maybe I dozed off really hard there. Hey! Wake up already! My eyes finally opened. It seemed as though I had fallen asleep indeed. That was embarrassing, but now I couldn't deny it. I took a look around and noticed things just as she said. The train had stopped. It never came to a standstill like this unless it offloaded a few of its passengers, or if it was no longer in service for the day. Huh? The girl next to me was Jasmine. For some reason I couldn't put a face to her voice before, but now it became all too apparent. I was just a little too groggy from my nap, so I chose to listen to her before doing any sort of exploration. Yeah, I know what happened. I don't know what happened, and I'm pretty weirded out. I sat down for a moment, and right after that, I was alone here with you. It seemed like that fact was making her embarrassed too. Her cheeks took on a slightly rosy tint. I had to assume she wasn't lying about it then. No idea where Marco is. This is a bother. Did he leave us behind? No, he's not the type. He's probably waiting outside to jump scare us. I swear this is not normal. Yeah, it's not. I sat down, and right then, everyone else vanished in the span of a single moment. I tell you. Okay, I get it. So you fell asleep too, and... No, my eyes were wide open. Sure. I teased her. For a moment I thought I had got through to her, but she shook her head with an exasperated sigh. My companion threw out her arm to expose the rest of the train. This place is very strange. Feel free to have a quick look around before we go. Don't worry, plenty of time. I woke up several minutes ago and it still hasn't moved. That doesn't necessarily follow, but okay. Woke up, is that right? You did sleep. Oh, shut up. Either way, I decided to conduct my own search around this place. This strange panel in the back of the train was especially interesting. When I'm... I'd just go for the exit. The station was completely deserted outside. There was absolutely no one I could see. The same could be said for the other side too. Both sides were empty. Normally trains passed on both sides as well, but if what Jasmine said was true, the fact this one didn't move and the fact no one passed by was very strange. Still, my destination was right outside the train. Alright, something weird in my settings popped up. Still, my destination was right outside of the train. Perhaps I'd better understand what I was seeing out. The walls were covered in metal plates too. This wasn't what stations looked like normally. This was not, in fact, a stripper pole, really. It was much more dangerous. First of all, this pole's covered in germs, like a stripper pole isn't. People held onto it to keep themselves balanced when the train was moving, since most had to stand up. Sometimes the train was so packed you were squeezed like sardines against one another, and it's pretty damn hard to breathe well. I oftentimes didn't need to hold onto it, because I mastered the art of spreading my weight over my legs. All I had to do was open them a bit wider than usual and stand perpendicular to our directional movement. By shifting my weight accordingly, I could fight off the pull of gravity, and then I didn't have to hold on to those things. Immortal against those damn germs. That wall was weird. It was separating the compartment from the frontal one. There was a faint outline of a door, as if the conductor cabin could be accessed, but there was no handle. Had that always been there? Maybe. I was perhaps only noticing it now because I was looking around. Maybe it was just my imagination, but I felt like I was caged in. Looking around, the opposite side, I saw they blocked off this compartment from the rest of the train. No. A wall with a large red X had been installed between each slice of the two compartments. It was as if the only accessible ones would be these ones. Something strange was going on. Why would they put up this wall? These were the seats furnishing the train's compartments. They were pretty small and snugly squished together to maximise use of space. They also weren't comfortable, probably done on purpose so people didn't sit down if they could avoid it. Maybe so they wouldn't fight over the seats. Clearly that didn't work out in the Metro's favour. So you fell asleep, right? I know I said woke up, but I really didn't. I sat down and everyone instantly vanished. It was instantaneous, like I keep telling you. That's pretty whack. I know, right? I couldn't believe what she was saying. She definitely fell asleep, but she's too proud to admit it. I looked outside of the train, through one of the windows. There was no telling which station this was. Why is it not moving anyway? Are we at the end of the line? I stopped way earlier than that. It'd be such a bummer if that was the case. I don't know why it's stuck here, but I don't think we missed our stop. For some reason, I think this is it. On one hand, the fact it's not moving is weirding me out. Another, it means we didn't miss our stop. But maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe something happened. They evacuated the area and we just missed it. If that's the case, we should hurry outside then. Whatever it is, it's not something we need to worry about too much. Nothing's happened for several minutes. But, and consider this. If it was an earthquake or something, maybe we're just between two tremors. We should hurry out of here. Oh, there are no earthquakes here. Where do you think we live? In Montreal. That's where you live, at least. Anyway, there are no earthquakes here. Take your time. Nothing else is happening.
She seems remarkably calm about it. Like, we just woke up at a strange place, and, everything's a bit whack, but, it's definitely fine, right? There's nothing weird going on, right? Okay, I'm ready to go. Finally. I've been waiting for you, even if you were asleep, because I didn't really want to go without you. But if the door's closed behind me, right? Yeah, good thinking. Now that we're done, let's go. We both stepped outside of the train. I looked at the strange plates on the wall for a few moments till something snapped me back. The doors to the train closed behind me, which made me turn around quickly. It's going away now? My question fell on deaf ears as Jasmine and I watched it roll away. Soon it was gone, just like that. Would we have stayed inside? I don't think so, no. That may sound strange, but I have a feeling, was it waiting for us to leave before doing the same? Trains don't wait for people, Jasmine. It's the people who wait for trains. At any rate, I also noticed something strange earlier. She pointed at me. Before I could act indignantly, I took a look behind myself and noticed a welcoming committee of two was coming towards us. Was she pointing at them? No, she was definitely pointing at me, directly at my neck, in fact. But that could wait. But now I stared at the two coming up to us. They were strange enough that I would have considered her words were meant for the two of them. The first of the duo was an old man. He looked so old his hair was entirely white. Again, making assumptions here. No, wait. There was a slight greyish tint to it, too. Maybe he was in his 60s, maybe 70s. His outfits was all sorts of strange. Hunched over, he wore several layers, a white shirt, a grey vest with golden stripes, and two metallic shoulder pads. He also had a bag at his side. The one accompanying him was much younger. I couldn't see most of her face, so I couldn't tell just how young, but... Oops. But from how she looked, she might have been in her 20s too, just like Jasmine, Marco, and I. However, there was a clear difference between us. Namely, she was adorned with very strange things. There was a headset on her, along with that facial plate mask. Was she playing some sort of game? Stranger even was the rest of her outfit. It made me think of Japanese shrine maidens. Really? I mean, I suppose the sleeves a bit. Is there a way of like... Oh, there's a hide button here. I mean, I can see what they mean, but like the sleeves and everything, but that's not what I'd think. First and foremost, I mean, first and foremost, it's not white and red, obviously. It wasn't exactly clear what the dress was supposed to be, but it was a sharp contrast to the technology on her head. Now, young man, it's rude to stare, you know. I averted my eyes for a moment while Jasmine took the lead. Hello? Sorry to bother you, but we're kind of lost and... Of course, I understand. We are in the same predicament as you, I'm afraid. We were starting to believe we would be the only ones here, but you arrived in a train much like us. We had been discussing about investigating when you came out, and now the train is gone. Ah, right. So anyway, my name is... You sure you want to give your name to a frail old man such as myself? Information can be troublesome if it falls into the wrong hands. While I'm I can words. While I'm glad you're willing to trust me that much, it doesn't matter if we call ourselves by something else, no. I didn't understand what he was suggesting. Jasmine did not seem to share my confusion, instead considering his words carefully. Perhaps she figured this meeting was too strange as she backpedaled on her decision. You are right. I feel like this is a little unorthodox, so fine then. You can call me Jay. How about that? Jay? Or do you mean the letter J? The letter is fine. I like it. It's like a nickname. Not much of one, but one nonetheless. I couldn't fathom why she was so hesitant about this. Had she participated in something like this before? Hang on. I'm just remembering something from Earth Me Code. Maybe? I don't think that would make a huge amount of sense. No, I don't think so. Probably not. You can play them in either order, but the devs basically said, like, depending on which order you play it in, you'll probably get like different sort of spoilers, as it were, like for each other. I was just like wondering, is she? The more I'm thinking about this now, the more I'm like, is she maybe related to one of the obvious character she would be related to? Yeah, no, I don't know. Suddenly a cold feeling spread through my spine. Is this dangerous in some fashion? No, Simon, you had to stop thinking this way. There had to be some kind of explanation. And then I'll be, S. Very well. That seems sensible enough. The lady at my side will be E in that case. As for me, I will be A. As in, a knight of justice. At your service. Okay. He pushed a hand onto his chest, acting solemn about it. He really wasn't, That might explain his weird appearance, though there was something off about him. It was as if a part of what he said didn't seem sincere. I have several questions, and I may have several answers. Please don't be afraid. Well, first of all, you two are dressed a bit, weird, no? I hope that doesn't come off as rude of me. Oh, it's quite alright. Yeah, I wasn't saying anything, but it's a little out there. Don't worry about it. Or what you both should be worried over, I think, is the fact that we are wearing collars. I squinted a little. That's right. Around his neck was a strange black collar. It was also present around E's neck, and when I looked at Jasmine, it seemed she had one too. When I said we, I meant all of us. You both have one just like ours too. I'm afraid it's not part of my usual passion. Yeah, I noticed it earlier. Sorry. Drink. Oh yeah. That must have been what she was pointing at before the two of them came up to us. I wanted to examine it closer, but I couldn't, obviously, see mine. And I didn't think it was polite to ask either of the two others. Can you turn around, Jay? I want to see the back. It looks a bit stranger. Oh, huh? Okay then. Just as I thought, in the back was a strange circle, like some kind of red scanner. Or more like a large button. Perhaps pressing it would release the collar, but if that was the case, then why did we wear these? It was equally possible the button was dangerous. I left it alone for now, unwilling to take chances. Still, while examining it closely, a thought flashed by me. I remembered when I'd been in the train earlier. I was in the train with Marco. Right, speaking of which, where was Marco anyway? He didn't try to scare us like I thought he would. Some sort of lock in the back, I think. There's a glowing red button, but I don't think it would be a good idea to press it. I just don't know what will happen. I see. Oh, something's coming. I pulled away, looking in the direction of the something. Looking in the direction the something was coming from. There was another train, and it arrived at our side of the station, just like ours had been stopped earlier. Interesting. I can see two men in this one. Jasmine A and I. That's not going to get confusing at all. Went over to the window to stare. I hope they haven't called anyone I, because that will get really, really confusing. The only one who hadn't moved at all was E. In fact, she hadn't spoken even once, ever since the two of them came up to us. But all those thoughts were dispelled when I noticed one of the two men inside the train was Marco. The other was a large, buff man. He didn't look particularly young. I could tell because he was a redhead, even if his hair had several long streaks of grey hair scattered throughout, neatly combed on one side, the other was a bit more of a mess. So it was like that when we arrived too. I think we need to open these doors. I don't see how we could do it, but let's try, I guess. Naturally, I figured those doors wouldn't open even if we tried, since it was an automated system. Yet we still decided to have a look around the train, just in case. Generally speaking, there was always a driver, or a conductor, I guess, who sat in the frontal cabin of the train. There was also a second cabin in the back, with another one of them. Together, if they combine, they form a giant robot, really. On a more serious note, I wandered to the back of the train to try to see if I could catch a glance of who was driving us around. As much as I tried to look inside, I couldn't see anything. The view through the windows was completely dark. If anyone was inside, I wouldn't know. It was the same for the other side, too. I knocked on the frontal driver compartment door. Hey, anybody home? Special pizza delivery straight to the train. The slightly hollow sound resonated on its own, without any answer from within. I doubt they're hungry. The likeliest scenario is that if someone's there, they don't want to come out. However, due to the way it's closed, I don't think this door even opens. Wait, they wouldn't be able to come out even if they wanted? Precisely. There probably is no one in this cabin. I thought that was strange. Trains didn't work that way. You can get self-driving trains. The DLR in London is all self-driving. I don't know how the technology... Well, I mean, I can imagine roughly how it works, but yeah, you can definitely have self-driving trains. There was a tiny bit of space in this area. If I wanted, I could drop down to the rails below between the train and the side of the station itself. I really wanted to go there so I could look at the train from up close, but that was ridiculously dangerous for a few reasons. First of all, the rails were electrified, so if I touched them directly, I'd definitely be incinerated. The voltage was no joke. Again, amplitude, more worry, but yes. Also, I don't think it would actually... I don't advise anyone doing this for science, but I don't think it would incinerate you. It would probably just hurl you a long way and stop your heart, so... don't do this at home, kids. Don't do this anywhere. Second of all, if I went down there, I could get hit by the train if it took off again. That's just a risk I don't want to take. Both of those were shitty deaths, and I at least had enough self-respect to want to die another way. So much for that. Maybe it would have helped, but too dangerous for sure. However, the fact that the middle of the compartments was otherwise made of a rubbery surface gave me an idea. Hey, Jay, come over here. This is softer, maybe we can break through. No, even I can tell that's not going to work. It might be rubbery, but that's just so it allows the train to turn. If it's wide open inside, which it is. He pointed at the opening between the compartments. Then it has to be solid and hermetically closed. Even if it's softer, I doubt we can break through this part. Dunno. I don't know enough about trains. I ride them, I don't know how the technology works. I crossed my arms as Jasmine continued examining this spot, even if nothing came of it. Sometimes the best solution to a problem was a direct one. I went to the door at my first pick and tried to see if there was any way for my fingers to fit underneath and pull them open. I don't think that's going to work. Jasmine saw what I was trying to do, and I had to admit she was right. I reluctantly let go of it. What now, then? Let's regroup and think about it again. Well, that did diddly squat. I was about to talk to the others when something interrupted me. As soon as I moved, the train's doors finally opened. Almost immediately, the elder man walked out. He looked at us with a frown. For a second, he looked as if he was going to speak, but he went off on his merry way alone instead. Hello? Talk about rude. I muttered the last part under my breath to avoid aggravating him. A man that size you just didn't screw around with. It seemed as though he and Marco had woken up during our search, as the latter followed behind him, exiting the train similarly to the mountainous man. Mountainous man. Words. Hey, Simon. He looked joyful to see me, but almost instantly, Jasmine frowned and put a hand over his mouth. Shh. This place is all sorts of weird. We're not using our real names, just aliases. Right now he's going by S and I'm J. Okay?
Oh dear. This whole thing, clearly. Well, the author's clearly played 999, and at the beginning of that, that's the whole thing about code names as well. This is just reminding me of that. Good old Jumpy. I really like 99. I have to at some point do a fast thoughts on Zero Escape, which will basically be 5 minutes each of me praising the games and then pissing everyone off by not liking the one that everyone likes loads the most. But there we go. Oh god, that's going to be an interesting conversation. Anyway, Marco looked at her with all the surprise in the world before he nodded, acknowledging her request. After making sure he understood, the girl let go of him. In a way, I was a little annoyed that my name was known to the old man, A, and eccentric girl, E. However, neither seemed bothered in the least. There is no cause for worry. Of course I've heard your name, but it is not something that preoccupies me. I would not be much of a knight of justice were I to backstab you now, would I? Oh dear God. I wanted to make sure neither of them would spill the beans, just so I could stay on level with the rest of the field. But first I needed a bit more information. I've been wondering, do you two know each other? You introduced her, say. Oh, unfortunately, the companion at my side is unable to do so herself, because as you may be able to see, she is unable to. Unable to what? Unable to be unable. Unable to see, of course, and she is also unable to hear. She is both blind and deaf, making communication rather difficult. Thankfully, we have devised a way to do so quickly and easily. He reached for her hand, which she took without hesitation. Their fingers then touched in strange ways. I tried to make sense of it. Some kind of tactile alphabet? The whole process took around a minute, after which she lit up. Hello to you three. It is as he says, I am unable to see or hear, but I can still talk. Doubt. No, not the. I know that blind deaf people can talk, but it's obviously really difficult for them to learn. But yeah, she might be vaguely familiar as a character, but we'll see. But I can still talk. It was the first time she spoke since she came by us. Her voice was kind of soft. It was even softer than soft, in fact. It was melodious. It resonated. I looked at the others to see if they had the same effect, but Marco was simply waiting for things to happen, and Jasmine was otherwise unaffected. They didn't seem to get the same effect from it then. Something else struck me as odd. Despite the fact she was blind and deaf, she could speak extremely well. If she had been disabled since birth, it would be much stranger. That probably meant she hadn't always been, but I didn't want to press into a complete stranger's past. Acknowledging her words, I nodded at E. I immediately rectified my behaviour when I remembered she couldn't see. Oh, sorry, I nodded, but you can't see, so wait. Embarrassment struck again, this time forcing me to bring a hand behind my head to awkwardly rub it in derision. Oh god, this reminds me of when I was younger. One of the youth organisations I attended, we had a blind woman come in to talk to us about being blind and having a guide dog. And of course, when she got to the end, they asked for questions, and of course, two of us, myself included, put up our hands, which was not the most helpful, given she couldn't see them. But yeah, that was minor embarrassment 101. It was okay. There were plenty of people around who could see we wanted to ask questions. Oh dear. It is really awkward. Well, look, it's like, oops, I really, really shouldn't have done that. This time forced me to bring a hand behind my head to awkwardly rub it in derision. Jasmine was finding my reactions funny. At least someone was having fun. You do understand what I mean by making communication difficult now. He touched E's hand once again. The girl beamed, apparently understanding the predicament. This must have happened to her countless times. If anything, she didn't look annoyed by it. So, anyway, sorry to interrupt, but what's going on here? Jasmine and A filled him in on the subject of our presence here. Meanwhile, I had a look around the place, trying to see what the mountainous stranger had been up to. He was alone, next to the big door in the wall, examining the little consoles next to it. The more I looked at him, the more he looked frustrated with them. He'd been trying to leave the station, but from what I saw, the door was locked and he couldn't leave. And of course, I noticed the train had gone much like ours had left earlier once we'd stepped out. It seemed automated somehow. Hey, it seems we can't leave. I interrupted that topic to bring that to their attention. From what I gathered, Marco was now nicknamed N in the eyes of the others. Ah, have I not mentioned it before? E and I had examined the door, just like the large man is doing, but we could not leave. We are trapped here. That's not cool. Who would do something like this? That I do not know. However, we all share one element, namely, we are all wearing one of these dangerous-looking collars. Marco checked his own, looking at Jasmine and me to confirm we had them too. That's right. I didn't even notice. Just like before another train arrived, interrupting our conversation. How many of these trains were going to get here? We're 6 here already. If we all arrived in pairs, then we'd be 8. I looked through the window, while feeling like it was I was part of a welcoming committee now. Inside were 2 girls who weren't asleep, unlike Marco and the man had been. The doors opened almost immediately. It was perhaps presumptuous of me to assume such, but was the opening of the door tied to our awakening somehow? No, that was a little strange. How would someone rig it in such a way? Perhaps they could see us? Oh shit. I looked around for cameras while the 2 girls left the train. I saw none. Instead, I focused back onto them. They looked remarkably alike. One of them was fierce-looking. He stood in front. The other was a little nervous, halfway hiding behind who I assumed was her sister. Don't worry, young ladies. We are in a strange predicament, but we are not hostile. I can assure you. Yeah, this is still weird, but don't worry. We're not tied to whatever this is. Welcome, by the way. Marco smiled at them. He was a little awkward. He always was awkward around strangers, but perhaps there was another reason this time. I didn't pursue it and instead tried to help calm down teenagers. Yeah, it's okay. We're all on the same boat here. They have triangle eyes. Oh dear. They really didn't look reassured at all. The old man cleared his throat before extending a metaphorical hand to them. Due to our circumstances, we have chosen to call ourselves by nicknames. I'm A, this lovely girl at my side is E, this boy is S, there is M. S and M, that's gonna... and the pink lady is J. What may we call you? The twin in front spoke after a round of hesitation. My name is H, and my sister is G then. Ah, yes, so it is that. Right afterwards, the man who previously ignored us approached us again. He either wasn't a fan of being excluded despite the fact it was his own doing, or he noticed the group grew big enough for him to care about it. So what the fuck is going on? Why can't I leave? We are currently attempting to make sense of the situation, so perhaps we should do so together, don't you think? The man thought about it. His presence was frightening the twins, who clammed up again. But first, we could use something to call you by. Sure, you must have heard our nicknames, yes? Yeah, and frankly, I don't care what you call me or what name I give. So I guess you can call me Ray. That's good enough. The train had long gone by this point. No other came by. I wondered if this
meant we were a complete group now. We had a joker, an old man, twins, a childhood friend, a disabled girl, and a big idiot. I'm assuming that's Marco. That's Ray. And he doesn't mean himself there. Oh, and I was here too. Okay, yes. The big idiot was Ray, of course. For some reason, I felt as though his head might have been a bit empty with the way he acted. He even bellowed us post-introduction, asking us to check around again for a way out. We did so begrudgingly, but the fact of the matter was clear. There was no way out. Well, that wasn't quite right. There were two ways out. The first was ridiculous. If somehow the television screen allowed us to pass into another dimension. Is that a Persona reference? Yes, it is. Nah, there was no Midnight Channel for us. That wouldn't happen. The only other way was to take the train, so through the tunnel. However, that was dangerous. Hey, I found a locked gate here. One of the twins called to us. Deep inside a dark maintenance hallway right next to the tunnel, there was a locked gate. The bars were thick. What do you think this means? It means it's locked. Use your eyes. You've got some, unlike the e-girl over there. Can't you just break through it? He attempted to do so. His big bill allowed him to ram into it with such force, and yet, other than a loud reverberating smash, there had been no effect. The door remained firmly locked. What the hell is this door? It's like the other in the metallic wall. They're so fucking solid. This guy is not very gentlemanly. He keeps cussing unnecessarily. Unless we're fine throwing ourselves onto the tree. I guess we're stuck here for now. Let's deliberate on what to do among ourselves, okay? It was then decided that we'd split up a little, talk about what to do and reconvene. Jasmine and Marco split up from the rest, and I was going to follow up on them, but A stopped me. Would you kindly speak to each of our little groups to get their opinion on how to lead? Well, I guess. Do you think it would help them make up their minds faster? Yes. As much as I wish to give everyone their space, we need to be sure of what we're doing sooner and not later. I understood what he meant. We couldn't stay here forever. But with a nod, I left him to head over to my friends. Actually, I wasn't bound to that. Perhaps I could just speak to someone else instead. I figured I could go check up on the twins, Ray, or my friends. There was the option of talking to A again, but that was possibly just a waste. As I talked to him just now. I couldn't hide my curiosity over the duo who formed with E, though. So who do we want to talk to? Do they literally have the same sprite? I'm pretty sure they do. They could at least have given us like something to differentiate. This is going to be important later, I'm sure. Like, it's going to matter when they swap somewhere along the line. I'm wondering how deliberate some of like the eye shapes are. Just like, I mean, obviously we can't see E's eyes. A, I think, had normal eyes. Jasmine has normal eyes. And Marcus got like cat slits. It looks like. Ray, are those normal or like? It looks like there's a straight line in there somewhere. The two twins have triangle eyes, I think. Yeah, I'm wondering if that's important. Again, partly because of things from Birth Me Code. But we'll find out. Who do I want to talk to? I mean, I'm most intrigued about these two. Ray seems like a bit of a. He will not be my favourite character. Let's put it that way. And the twins. Let's go for the being friends with my friends route. first and foremost and see where that gets me. I joined back with Jasmine and Marco while he was giving a monologue about Ray. So he woke up and asked me what was going on, and then followed up with a bunch of angry questions. Obviously, I couldn't answer any of them. Hey, figured something out yet? Oh no, I was just talking about my awakening. Yeah, we all woke up at different times. Given we couldn't have all come here in the same train if only one compartment opens the doors. We easily could have, but we wouldn't have been in pairs then. Yeah, speaking of Ray, I don't know. I know him, I've seen him before. That was interesting to me. Maybe this was a link between all of us? I knew Jasmine and Marco, then the twins knew each other, and both A and E knew each other too, apparently. If Marco knew Ray, maybe something would tie the twins, A and E, back to someone else too. Marco stopped talking. He was staring blankly behind Jasmine. What's going on there? Green's full of noise. I took a glance at it and noted he was right. Everyone was gathering to see what was going on. What was going to appear on it. So I figured his explanation about Ray would have to wait until later. Let's go. Probably super important. We went for it, joining the others standing in front of the screen. When I joined the others, I quickly made an inventory of everyone's states of being. The twins were holding their hands over their ears since the noise was pretty loud. Honestly, I was close to doing much the same. Jasmine and Marco watched it, waiting expectantly. Of everyone, they were the calmest of the bunch. Ray was being aggravated by it. Of course he was. From what we've seen of him, he gets aggravated by everything. His hands were curled up in fists as if he was about to punch the thing into next Tuesday. E didn't seem any different than usual. Granted, she was deaf, which explained why she couldn't hear, but A was slightly nervous despite his usual countenance. I prepared myself for what would be shown, both of my hands closing in fists. Once the noise cleared up, someone showed up on the screen. He had a strange mask on, which seemed to cover his entire head. Oh, it's a bear. That's interesting. At least I think that's meant to be a bear. He has an arrow on his head as well. Clearly he's secretly the Avatar. Or a Space Marine. One of the two. He had a strange mask on, which seemed to cover his entire head. Just as strangely, he was dressed in a cultist robe, and his hands were completely covered with bandages. That's ringing a bell for some reason. I feel like I should have gone back and played Birth Me Code before playing this to get all the connections. Just as strangely, his hands were covered with bandages. Like, somehow when I was putting the thumbnail together for this stream, I somehow missed quite a lot of these details, despite, using a picture of him. I'm very observant, obviously. I mean, obviously I am an investigator of mysteries, he had a strange mask on which seemed to cover his entire head. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. Smile and shine, everyone. I am Smiley. Please listen carefully to all that I will say, as I will not repeat it. You will be missing crucial details to your survival if you choose to ignore me. I looked at the others briefly. Everyone seemed as puzzled as I was, except for E. A would have to communicate everything to her afterwards, most likely. The distorted voice resumed its speech. You are in the Metro, Montreal's underground transit system. Much like how Montreal survives on its population, you are my lifeblood. Your goal is to win this game we will play together, the dating game. I understand a game cannot be won without a set of predetermined rules, so 3 will be given to you, as many as the laws of robotics. There is a zeroth law in some of the books as well, but I can't even remember what that is. It's something weird, I don't remember. First one will follow this brief explanation over an important element. You all have a collar with a number on each of them, specifically the numbers 1 through 8. To see those numbers, you will need someone else to push the red button on the back, which is when it will temporarily appear. This collar is extremely important, as it is both your salvation and your demise. You are 8 participants, but none of you can, as you are now, pass through any of the numerous gates leading back outside. I just noticed he has bandages here as well, so is his whole body in bandages? Presumably so. That really is making me think of something. I can't think what it is. It's going to annoy me. The reason is simple. Your collars do not show the number 9. This would be rule number 1. To escape this place, you must team up with an additional person. If you break this rule by leading through one of the many scanner gates before you find them, you will be severely punished. So we have to find a 9th person, team up with them, and then we can leave. It's important. Smiley continued as if this was only a recording. Once you figure out the person who will help you leave, 2 among you will be allowed to do so. As for rule number 2, it is closely tied to the name of this game, the dating game, as you may have realised. If you remember how you arrived here, is meant to bring you... The dating game, as you may have realised if you remembered how you arrived here, is meant to bring you to numerous stations in pairs. On every single station, except for the one you are currently on, you are forbidden to enter the staircase with more than one partner. Breaking this rule will instantly punish you as well. Even though you can take the train and stop at any station, the train will not leave unless you have solved the station it opens at, or a group of 2 leaves the train and the door closes behind them. In essence, you must solve each station as they come. For now, you may only go in one direction unless you would like to take your chances by crossing over the rails. I would strongly suggest against this. It is not forbidden, but if a train should arrive at the same moment, your death will be a terrible accident. Yeah. Let's not do that. That sounds like a bad idea. It's locking our progress. And for rule number 3, it is more of a piece of information than a rule. If you are to be punished, it will always be in the same way, decapitation. The word sent a tremor of anxiety through the group. H and G were both horrified. Jasmine was staring blankly and Marco's arms were crossed. On the other side, A was frowning and Ray was fuming angrily. I did say that the collars were 2 things, your salvation and your demise. The interior has a feature you cannot see from the outside, a red lining, which is the demise part. Breaking any of the rules will cause the lining to form a full circular laser, which will detach your head and cauterize the wound. A circular laser. I assume they just mean like firing a laser from every direction effectively? I wouldn't want to make any more of a mess than necessary. As part of this rule, you are also forbidden from breaking this collar. If it determines enough force to applied, it will punish you. I believe I have spoken long enough. Please do not underestimate the collars you wear. They are made of a nigh indestructible alloy. Even the strongest among you will not survive their punishment. Let us wish you never see me on a screen again, because my smile is a smile which will kill. Okay. And just like that, the screen shut down. Everyone seemed rather panicked. Sweat was dripping off my forehead at the thought that this was actually real, and I had a death machine installed around my neck. We're going to die, aren't we? It's okay, sis. I'll protect you against that. Oh, that is a brilliant insult. I love it. Well, this sucks big time. Can anybody here call a helicopter? You think a helicopter's going to help? You moron, we're underground if you didn't notice. I'm liking H. I'm liking it. She's got just that right amount of sass to deal with, as she so eloquently put it, morons. Hey, I was just making a joke. Yes, because that's exactly what you'd want to do right now. Is this the time to make a joke? It is of no use to lose our calm, everyone. I agree. We can't let this bother us or we've already lost. Please don't panic until we've made sense of this. But Ray disregarded her words, instead reaching for his collar. He slid his thumbs under it with great effort as the collar was snug against his neck. Fuck that, I'm going to destroy this bullshit collar. I don't care what this smiling fuckhead told us. This shit is tiny and could break in seconds. Wait, that's really not a good idea. But he was already pulling on it. Almost immediately, the back of his collar lit up with a red alarm. He instantly released it, realizing that it indeed was a strong alloy. Ah, fuck. I'm not dying here. Stop this shit right now. I get it. Everyone watched from the sidelines, but ultimately the alarm stopped. Ray seemed to have gotten lucky. He leaned over, looking extremely tired. I couldn't blame him. Everyone be grateful it didn't go through with it. I think next time it won't be so lenient. Ray grumbled something, but I changed the subject to something more important to the matter at hand while he went to punch the door without any results. Did you guys not notice how he spoke? It was like a recording, like that was said a while ago. What's the problem with that? I sure wouldn't want to do this live if it was me doing it. I'd be stressed out like hell. No, consider the reason why it's set that way. What if it's because he's among us? Sus. I can't read the words among us anymore without it tripping me up. Oh dear. I realise that might have not been the most intelligent thing to say as panic rippled throughout the group. Yeah, probably not. Everyone looked at each other, not sure who to trust. A came back from his talk with E. He told her what Smiley said, most likely. That is possible. I suppose we will need to keep our eyes open then. That was ironic coming from him. That guy, he kind of has Gray's build, doesn't he? Maybe it's him. Okay, she's calling him Gray for some reason. Why would I put myself into a death trap? Think before you speak. My name's not Gray, it's Ray. You said two dumb things back to back. I thought it was pretty good for a joke, at least. Maybe the twin was trying to lift the mood a little. Jasmine sighed very loudly and shook her head. No, I don't think we could tell so easily. The fact that they look big only means it could be any of us wearing a number of things to appear bigger. Could be, for example, S wearing a bunch of foam under a robe to appear bigger, standing on stilts to appear taller. And then you've been had thinking it's Ray. Yeah, that. See? She's not dumb at least. But more importantly, I know none of you trust anyone else right now, but we need to do what he says. We need to check our collars and take the train. Oh, that's right. We still don't know our numbers. Let's do that. Very quickly, we all checked each other's numbers. Numbers 1 through 4 were G, me, Marco, and A, respectively. H, Ray, E, Jasmine were numbers 5 through 8. Okay, just as we thought. No one had the number 9. Strangely, too, our collar numbers also had a colour. G had green, I had blue, Marco had orange, A had yellow, H had aqua, Ray had white, E had red, and Jasmine had purple. Okay. Of course it wouldn't be so easy, huh? On one of these weird colours. It wouldn't be much of a game if we could solve it in seconds. While we checked our collars, a train slowly arrived at the station. Its doors opened, like a yawning abyss representing our futures. After several moments of inertia, I asked what everyone was thinking. Is the train waiting for us? Jasmine stared at me accusingly. I shrugged in retaliation. I was the one who opposed that thought earlier, but maybe it was true. Well, we don't have a choice. I don't think anyone really wanted to go down the tunnel earlier, and this is safe. Safe enough, at least. Ray grunted in dissatisfaction. Let's split into 4 groups of 2 then. I think for many of us this will be rather easy to determine. Fuck that. If I end up with that smiley fuckhead, what if they get me, huh? You're the one who's afraid of that? But no, you're wrong. It's safe this way, because listen, if we're in groups of 2 and someone comes back alone, what does it mean, you think? That's right, the only one who comes back will be super suspicious. I don't think anyone will act out if we all take a station at the same time. Which means this is the best course of action. Marco changed the subject, inquiring about our location instead. This side of the station, going towards the north side, right? Wouldn't make any sense if it went the other way, that's true. We're going north then. We'd been heading towards the north earlier, after all. If we left the train, we were on the east side of the station. Let's go in. If we stay here too long, we'll die of hunger or dehydration, or even worse if something else happened. Like a fight breaking out, I thought. With Ray around, that was possible. He already looked angry again. The sooner we're out, the earlier we can return to our lives, right? Now, at the very least, I'm in favour of doing what Smiley says. Otherwise, we can't get out right now. Get it now, Ray? H, G, you both good? What about you, A? Are you good with E? All of them nodded. The groups all naturally split up among those who arrived together. H went with G, A was the only one who could communicate with E, so he went with her. And for us, it was actually more complicated. I could go with Jasmine or Marco, but Ray would be alone. However, if we were meant to split up depending on our links, that meant I needed to go with Marco. What sort of link would Jasmine and Ray have shared? Hey, Earth to S, respond. Yeah? We can split the team any way you like. I don't mind if you pick who should go with Ray. Yeah, who has to babysit him? Ray narrowed his eyes in his direction. Yeah, I didn't trust Marco with Ray in the end. I felt like a fight would really break out if I put them together, which meant I really didn't have much of a choice. I felt like Jasmine could handle whatever Ray could throw her way, so I went with Marco. Besides, maybe this was how the pairs were meant to be. We all had a link somehow. Wouldn't it be the other way around? I'd known Jasmine for far longer than I'd known Marco. Huh? What was I thinking all of a sudden? Was I trying to crack some kind of weird code? It's like I was taking pleasure at solving the situation. I shook my head to clear it up. Maybe I'd just been underground for too long. If this kind of kidnapping was any fun to me. Okay, Jay, you're with Ray, I'll go with M. Is that fine by you? She nodded slowly. For some reason I felt as though she was dissatisfied with the outcome despite having given me the choice. At least then Ray and Marco wouldn't fight. Everyone had their team set now. Since we couldn't access the other side of the station, there was only one direction we could take. The twins entered the train first. After noticing it wasn't moving yet, my group followed suit. I figured the system was automated to some degree, or maybe the mastermind behind all this could see this. A shiver ran up my spine at that thought. Were there scanners on the doors or something? Cameras we couldn't see? Suddenly I grew very self-conscious. Don't think too much about it. I did earlier, and well, things didn't go well for my head. 1 second. Just grabbing a drink. Oh wow, the camera can pick me up from all the way over there. Okay. It's calmed down now. Calm down. Yeah, I really needed a drink. We've been going for 2.5 hours. Oh. I'm hoping we can get to another escape room soon, and then I might just do that and then finish up for now. Assuming the escape room's a bit more than the last one, because that was really short. Don't think too much about it. I did earlier, and well, things didn't go well for my head. She sighed in discouragement, closing her eyes for a moment. I wordlessly agreed with her. Doors closed, and we were greeted by a pre-recorded speech telling us what the next station was. Prochaine station, garde-manger. With all this, I had already forgotten. The train had French diction here. It seemed the next station was a garde-manger, whatever that was. Normally I'd just sit down and stare blankly at the wall to see which of us would blink first, but since we were just a handful, I figured some chatter wouldn't hurt. The real question was about the best topic to pick. What do we want to talk about? Over time. What time is it anyway? 6 PM. Wait, my watch is broken. He was looking at his arm. More precisely, under the fold of his cuff was a large watch. Okay, that I can appreciate. Having a good watch, you know? An important thing for any gentleman. Even if nobody wore those any... Excuse me. Even if no one wore those anymore, older guys still had their quirks. Excuse me. I'm not that... Well, okay, I am that old, but you know. It broke earlier, at probably 6:20 PM or so. I think when we were in the train before, it was somewhere around 5 PM, more or less at least. I wonder how long this game is going to take. To have a good excuse for missing out on work time. Yeah, or you could call your boss to tell him you're late because aliens abducted you. You really think he's going to believe this if you tell him? Oh, shut up. Somehow that time feels wrong to me. It's not correct. What do you mean? I think it should be earlier. I guess I was abducted earlier than you guys then. Before I could really ponder on what this meant, we'd arrived at the next station. The air was so tense as we arrived at the station that I caught myself holding my breath. The doors finally opened, but no one was in a hurry to leave. Station. Garde-manger. Well, I guess we don't have a choice. The doors aren't closing, so if what Smiley said was true, two of us have to leave here. I don't mind going first, but if anyone else wants to, I also wouldn't mind that. Knowing him, he really didn't want to leave the train yet. Maybe he was afraid of what could happen. I looked at the others and eventually the old man smiled. Very well. We will be taking this station then. Please grant me a moment to let E know. I examined the station outside the window while he was doing that. It was remarkably similar to the one we previously were at. Large metal plates covered the wall. I forgot to turn my phone on silent. One moment. There we go. Hopefully it won't bleep it up again. I don't know if you actually heard that on the... You probably did. Whoever Smiley was, whatever he did in life, somehow he could have the equipment to modify every single station of this subway. Before I managed to frighten myself more, the old man saluted us to take his departure. We shall see each other again, I hope. If not, safe travels, and I shall pray for you to make it out alive. He left the train, followed by the girl. The two of them waved at us. Rather, the old man waved at us, but he waved an empty compartment. Oh, that just seems harsh. Poor girl. The two of them continued forward until they stepped through the open doorway. As soon as E vanished inside, the door slid to a closed state with a soft thump. After that, the doors to the train closed as well, and we set off once more, this time without two of the passengers. Prochaine station, bibliothèque. I figured I could keep talking to the others while we were in here, but before I could do so, Marco said something. I'm starting to get hungry, and I don't really know why. Yeah, me too, now that you mention it. Hey, you know how hunger works, right? What do you mean? When you get hungry, you don't really get hungry the way we think we do. Like, there's some emptiness in your stomach and it growls, right? Yeah, that's how I know I'm hungry. In reality, it's just some kind of signal. Your body is like, hey, I'm not digesting it anymore, and there's free space. Send food. Your brain receives the message. I guess you're the science man here, so I don't know about all that. And didn't you have any biology classes? You should know all this already. If I had to guess, that was far too long ago for both of us. I've been working for a few years now, so I never had the opportunity to think about it again. Yeah, besides, we don't have the time to really talk about it. Oh yeah, the next station's coming up. If you want to, I'll tell you all about it later. I'll pass, I think. Noticing how his expression dropped, I sighed and surrendered myself to his wiles. Fine, okay, but later. Once again, the doors opened, and once again, nobody moved. This time around, I decided to take the lead. I gathered up my courage and stepped forward. Alright, it's our turn now. Okay. Guess we can go now that we know it's not going to kill us. It wouldn't make any sense if it did, don't you think? At any rate, let's see each other later, everyone. Come back in one piece too. That means you're not allowed to lose your fingers, or your arm, or even your hair. Pulled him out of the train before he kept building himself into a bigger laughingstock. I gave a wave to Jasmine, who returned it in kind with a nod. So what now? I looked around. The station seemed the same as the previous one. Giant metal plates, open doorway. I pointed at it. I think that's our destination. We'll have more time to talk once we search this place proper. Lead the way, Mr. Intrepid. He made an exaggerated gesture towards the entrance, almost folding himself over, like some sort of butler. Some things never changed, I guess. You took the lead anyway. How could I not have done so after that display of... I took the lead anyway. I can read. I took the lead anyway. How could I not have done so after that display of politeness? Once I stepped inside of the tiny staircase lobby, I realised this place was actually decently lit. Perhaps it was just my eyes getting used to the relative darkness. The moment Marco walked through the doorway to ascend the staircase with me, the door closed behind us with a soft sliding sound. Right next to it, on the wall on the inside, was a small keypad. It took numbers. I see, so we're trapped. I guess we have to find the code to reopen the door, or just move. Or just move further in. You'd think Smiley would have put us in here directly and avoided the train business. Whatever the case is, let's get going already. I'm starting to get real hungry. Maybe we'll find some food here. I don't think Smiley would let us die from starvation since we're his lifeblood, yeah? Food seemed to be wishful thinking. Still, there was no point in wasting time, so we went up the stairs. What awaited us there was rather strange, to be honest. It was a library. Here it says so, even. Oh. Interesting. There were rows upon rows of books. Bookshelves that were completely filled to the brim. Here and there were a few little computers scattered around, but most importantly was the fact there were windows. Unfortunately, all the windows had metal plates bolted over them. We weren't getting those open anytime soon. There was only one window which was uncovered, but when I looked through it, I saw a very bizarre sight. Some kind of weird, small room. I assumed this was the scanner Smiley mentioned previously. So this was our exit then. Not that I'd have been able to leave at that moment, since going through there would probably killed me if I tried. Our search eventually also showed us there was a bunch of benches to relax or read books on, and some tables and seats brought to the side. But this place was rather big at that. Oh look, there's a little map here. We can see how big this place is, and that must be the exit room up there. That would certainly come in handy. This place was decently big. I'll take care of this side, and you look through the other side. Just let me know if you find anything cool or interesting. Like an ice bomb. I said cool, not cold. I'm obviously talking about leaving this room ASAP. Codes, objects, we can take as such. Roger then. Marco split up from me as I took in the size of this room. There were just so many books in this place, I was sure I could have stayed here my whole life, reading one a day and still not be done by my death. Okay. Let's see what we got here. I saw Marco stare at a plant. It was pretty rude of him, so I went over to tell him to stop doing that right this instant, and smack us instead. However, when I came nearer, he lifted a hand as if to tell me to stop. Hold on. Plant. Another one of your dumb jokes. They're not dumb. And no, I just remembered. I knew a girl named Long. thought, that's kind of weird. It's not really a name, maybe more like someone's last name. No, it wasn't her first name, you dumbass. It was like, oh yeah. He snapped his fingers and they lit up as if he discovered the secret to immortality or something as equally important. Her name was Anastasia Plum. She was a little silly in the head. I remember her. She had white hair. Really weird. I don't know if that was due to a condition or... Anyway, at least her name wasn't Anastahope or something even weirder like Anastamerica. Didn't know you even knew other people. You learn things every day. Wow, okay. He looked at me like a sad little puppy as I chose to disregard his dumb joke, and then after I gave him a pat on the shoulder to reassure him in this trying time, we split up again. I really wanted to sit down, but if I did, I knew Marco would make fun of me. Even worse, it would make our search go by much slower. I decided to abandon that idea, but if I had a reason, I'd definitely take it. Look, an ATM. I'm going to use it to get some money out. He pushed a few buttons. Nothing happened, so he pushed some more. At some point, he stopped pushing buttons and started mashing his hand down against the machine. Hey, whoa. Stop with the rage against the machine. Really? This thing isn't working, and now you're telling me I have to stop listening to music too? It's probably not even an ATM. Why would there be an ATM here anyway? This is a library. Yeah, but okay, fine, it's a library, so stop making so much noise. I abandoned the pursuit, choosing not to point out that he was causing a much bigger ruckus than I ever would have done. I took a moment to appreciate the architecture of this place. While I didn't really have a job related to that field, I was still allowed to admire the handiwork. Next to it was some kind of painting. I didn't recognise what it was, just some kind of landscape. A few of those were disseminated around these parts. There was an area back there with a desk, the bins, and bookshelves and a chair. It was a little cosy, but there wasn't enough space for anyone to really study there. Looking up, I saw there was a hole in the middle of the second floor, surrounded by more railings. Falling over would prove difficult, though that hole was a little silly too. It would be what I'd expect out of a mansion or something, but this corner was far too small to constitute something like that. Probably just for aesthetics. I couldn't get up there alone. There were no ladders tall enough in this room, and unless we stacked enough books, which would take a year to do and be very dangerous to climb, we weren't getting up there. It would make an inaccessible second floor. Maybe it's not meant to be accessible because it's not a real library. What if it's just a replica? Or if the books up there are duds? But why? I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to make this into a believable living space. Like a big study room. Anyway, maybe we can get up there if one of us lifts the other. If you think I'm going to lift you up there, you've got some kind of delusion. It's all good. I could do it instead. I'm okay with it. Maybe if it ends up being necessary, then fine. Just don't drop me. Never gonna let you down. Oh dear. Hello, yes, I am here to return the first edition of her Bright Materials. Oh god, is this what it's gonna be? Terrible puns and references all the way through, because... I mean, I like that one, to be fair. I like that one. Oh, it was years ago I read his Dark Materials, like years and years ago. Good series, good series. There's no one behind the counter. I'm behind the counter. No, you're in front of it. I'm behind the counter for whoever would be on the other side. That doesn't... it's... While he thought about what I said, I slipped away unnoticed. Near the counter was a rather large poster so we wouldn't miss it. It read, "Please be quiet, this is a library." Do you read that, Em? I guess we have to be silent now or else we'd anger the librarian and then be banned from the library. Well, there doesn't seem to be anyone about, so I guess I'll be the librarian then, and my first action will be to smash our exit open. Though, all I currently have in order to do so are my bare hands. Really want to do that, then go ahead. I don't want to hurt my fists just pounding on it. Remember Ray and how he tried to slam open that door? Yeah, our best bet is to escape this place. Our best bet to escape this place is someone saying my name 3 times in rapid succession. Marco Martin, Marco Martin, Marco Martin. How do you feel? Still trapped because you summoned me here, where I already was, you buffoon. Between us both, I definitely wasn't the buffoon. Placed a bunch of garbage bins strewn around. They were all in locations close to the wall, even if normally they were situated in more accessible places, just in case you dropped trash behind them by mistake. If Smiley wanted us to live here for a long time, at least we're not short on suitable housing for Ray. He patted the top of the bin. Leave it to you to turn everything we find into a joke. I looked inside the bin. Who would hide anything inside a bin anyway? Wasn't that unsanitary? Smiley didn't know proper hygiene. After much consideration, I didn't either, since I assumed there would be something inside the bin. I tried moving it, but it was strongly bolted to the floor, preventing me from doing so. Hey, are all the bins stuck on the ground? Yep. Checked the others already. Actually, that reminds me, one of them had something. It produced a book out of nowhere. I impulsively grimaced at that. Marco, that was in the trash. It doesn't look terrible to me. I think it'll be useful. The book is called Cephalocodex. The title is Study on the Variables of the Head. Weird. There's a key with an eye for a handle on the cover. Yeah, that's pretty weird. Why is that kind of book here? Aren't we in one of the installations for the MTS? The MTS stood for the Montreal Transport Society, which is the company that regulated everything related to the metro, from the trains to the tickets to the staff. I thought Smiley might have been a member of that staff now that Marco brought it up. If he wasn't, how did he manage to do all this? I'll keep the book. Do you mind? Nope. Feel free to go study it if you want. I had to look for somewhere suitable to read this. Ah! I sat down with the book Marco handed to me. I decided this would be the perfect place to start studying it. Ah shit, I'm missing something. Upon opening the book, I saw that it actually was empty of writing. The entire thing was like one of those Bibles with an empty slot where a drunken priest would put a beer in some B-movie. And it's locked. The little box has a golden lock. Until I find something to unlock it, that's the end of the road for that idea. I stood up and continued my search for a key. I ascended the stairs. On the second floor there were about as many books as there were on the first floor. Yes, first floor, because it was first on the ground. I didn't live in England. Well, some of us do. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Actually, I was wrong about that. This wasn't the first floor, was it? We were underground. I took a moment to contemplate that idea. If we hadn't been underground, I would have been on the second floor, but since we were, I was probably on something like... I held my mouth in shock. I was probably overground now, actually, because we took a flight of stairs up from the metro in the first place. Oh, we're above ground. Maybe there's a way to leave this room and escape to the streets. No chances. The windows are bolted shut, and this is just a secret between you and I. He spoke to me from below. I actually managed to pull one of those plates off, and behind it was just a flat, solid wall. The windows here? He shrugged in disbelief. They don't exist. I wonder if this place is really above ground. The clock gave me the creeps, and I couldn't understand why. Maybe I would be able to know the exact reason once I'd figured out its purpose. Since I was up here already, I chose to check for anything special I could find in the bookshelves. There were just so many books though, but there also were some really empty spaces between them. One of them I found a gold key. The handle was shaped like an eye. All you had to do is to find the key is to open your eye. Done with the second floor, I walked back down the stairs. Let's talk to Marco now. I imagine he has something important to say. You know, now that I think about it, your outfit's made me a lot hungrier than I thought it was. You work at a pizzeria, right? Pizza treat. Was it? Driving around the city, delivering food to people with futures. That's my job. What about it? Why are you in that get-up today? Didn't you have some exams? I had a shift this morning before the exams, and you'd be surprised how much people order pizza in the early hours of the day. They're absolutely insane, I tell you. Well then, if delivering food to people with futures is your job, you should pay yourself a pizza, man. Finals went well, and you got a future, right, Simon? I tried to avoid outright declining to get pizza, even my grimace was probably telling. Maybe, but I just don't really know where I'm going. So about that future, it's not that bright. He shrugged, not pursuing the topic any longer. It seemed like, just as I dodged the topic of the pizza, he dodged the one about the future. We all had our fair share of worries. And don't call me Simon here, call me S. We have nicknames for a reason. More talking. Marco. Polo, I'm up here. What's up? What happened to calling each other by us letter? I shrugged in defense, truly having no retort to that. He was right. Oh yeah, I didn't have time to tell you earlier, but remember when I said I recalled something about Ray? You remember something? Yeah, he was my teacher maybe 2 years ago. He's a teacher of science things. These aren't only science things. These are also important life lessons. Essentially, you're right though, he was teaching some science class. And any clue about the others too while you're at it? Marco looked pensive. Actually, not a clue about the others, only Ray. Maybe something the university ties us together? I shook my head, knowing full well Jasmine had never gone there. I opened the book after I sat down. While open, it became clear that this book had nothing in it except a large compartment void of pages cut out in the middle of it all. The golden lock guarded that compartment, which I soon made quick work of by using the eye handle. Nice! The cover was a dead giveaway. Inside the compartment was another key, but this time it was black and the tiny handle was shaped like a lock. It was actually really, really tiny too. Some kind of winding key? A key with a clock on it? The cephalocodex? Does that mean anything? Inside the compartment there were some instructions to keep. I spotted at the end, after every other, as the milliseconds add up to hours, blind me. What? After every... As the milliseconds add up to hours, blind me. It felt like I was really close to solving the problem. I figured the key I'd found, which looked like a clock, could be used on the clock itself. Standing before it, I pushed it inside the middle bits regulating the hands. It could move. I spotted at the end of the line after all the others. Looking at the clock and what letters were on it, I realised what was it. Oh yeah, it's got letters and 4 clock hands, not just 3. Does it have 4? Like, oh, is that meant to be a separate hand? I assumed that was part of that one. That's weird. Wait, so that means one's the hour hand, one's the minute hand, one's the hand seconds, and the last one is the millisecond? 4 letters. Try last. It's at the end after everyone else, and it has 4 letters. Marco sprung up next to me, having overheard what I'd been solving. Here goes. I twisted the winding key to open the hands over, and once they were aligned to make the word last, the clock opened. Seriously, are you going to... Oh, are they not going to let us actually solve any of these? Because this is all feeling a bit sort of point and click and hope. It's refrigerated. Let's see what's inside. He brought out some sandwiches and a piece of electronics, like a small tablet with a code on it. That's most likely our password to get out of it. But why is there food here? I don't care, I'm hungry. He swiped one and I took the other. I didn't trust the sandwiches because they seemed really strange, but since Marco was biting into his own, I didn't fall dead. And didn't fall dead. I can read. Since Marco was biting into his own and didn't fall dead, I figured there may not have been any problem with them. I just couldn't understand why. A few minutes passed while we ate our sandwiches. Marco was looking at his half-eaten sandwich. Something struck him and he pointed at it. Alright, remember when Greg told me about sandwiches? H said. Swallow then talk. It's not polite to talk with your mouth full, and I don't understand anything you're telling me. He took a few seconds to do that, finishing up the bite he was chewing. I shook my head in complete derision. What he wanted to say was apparently so important he'd risk not being understood. I just remembered, sorry about that. What I was talking about earlier, that hunger. Remember how I said that when you get hungry, you don't really get hungry? I remember that, but it doesn't make any sense. Well, think of it that way. When you get hungry, your stomach goes growl, and you go, oh my god, I'm hungry. That's because your stomach sends a signal to your brain to tell you, yo, I gotta eat, bro, how long do I gotta starve? Well, your feeling is basically that, but suppose your head wouldn't be connected to your body anymore. Still stay alive by some miracle. The stomach would still growl, but you wouldn't feel it. You wouldn't feel the hunger anymore. That means the stomach is what gets hungry, and the head is what knows the stomach is hungry. Does that make sense? Like, it's a signal. That's what I'm trying to explain. It isn't enough that you get that signal anyway. Yeah, that makes you feel hungry, but you aren't hungry. He poked my stomach. I pulled away a little to avoid his finger, but he'd already poked me. Get it now? What you just felt is the same way. I didn't touch you. In fact, I didn't even touch your body. All I touched was your shirt. And your shirt, well, it's connected to your skin, which is connected to your nerves, which are connected to your brain. Every touch is a signal all the sense. Oh dear, we're going deep here. But did I really touch you? Now that's the question. I looked at him with a victorious gleam in my eyes. Oh, this time he was the one who would get joked on. Are you trying to create some sort of defense just in case you get arrested for bad touch? Marco lifted his hands in defense of himself. Ah, come on, no, of course not. I wouldn't do that. And I'm sure that'll fly very well with your eventual wife. You'll say, you were really good in bed today, I loved it. And then you'll reply, oh, I didn't really touch you, that was just a signal. This time I managed to make him avert his eyes. Simon 1 point. Marco 5,367 points. Maybe. The score is really lopsided. Hey, don't delay the lunch either. We gotta eat and get out of here. Right, you got me. Fine. I'll just finish eating. Even though we were done exploring this place, evidenced by the fact we had the password to escape, I felt as though we had yet to see one of the locations. Back out in the hallway, a locked door barred my progress. It quickly came open with the password that we found. Inside was a stranger room. The best way to describe it was a bottleneck. The room was somewhat wide at first, but it led into a little hallway that could only accommodate the width of one person. And that hallway also had a strange blue glow on the floor, ceiling. Blue glow, you can see. Some sort of checkpoint. Looks dangerous. I definitely don't want to cross this until we know what to do with it. Since we were on a bit of a schedule, with the other groups most likely finishing their exploration, I decided against looking at things more closely here for the time being. Hey Marco, you wouldn't believe what I found. What? You find the exit? No, wait, that's believable. Did you find the Queen of England? Her Majesty would not be trapped here. Also, she's the Queen of lots of places, not just England. Don't forget, you know, all the other. Well, she's technically the Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, so you know, don't be rude. Address her properly. I found the exit. Great, let's go then. No, I don't think that's a good idea. See, it had these scanners or something. I think it's going to check if we had that ninth person with us. If we don't, Marco didn't seem like the adventurous type today, so he wordlessly agreed to leave that alone for now. What have you been up to while I went to check for that? Oh, I went downstairs and entered the password. Both sides are open now. Alright, let's head back. Sure. We could also head further in by using the train on the same side we came here from, but that would cut us off from the rest, probably not wise to do. Then again, what even is wisdom? I waited for him to continue on that thought, but he simply shrugged. I don't know, I guess that's a rhetorical question. Sometimes people do stupid things. Yeah, I bet you know a lot about that. While I gave him some sass, I moved downstairs, followed by him. He grumbled some sort of retort, but I knew he had nothing to fight back with. Once we arrived at the station, past the little lobby, we waited for the train in silence. Usually it would take a while, but I had a feeling Smiley might have rigged the place to make it go faster. He probably wouldn't want whatever he's trying to make us do take forever. The train arrived just as I'd guessed it, and we boarded it momentarily. As we stepped in, I caught myself wondering exactly what the purpose behind this was. Train took off again. No, the train took off again in silence. The announcer once again gave us our destination, but I barely listened to it. Instead, I was thinking about how silly this entire thing really was. Why did Smiley even make us do this? Why lock the doors? What exactly did we do here? We certainly hadn't accomplished a great thing. All we did was make a tablet boot up. Then we were fed the answer. Yeah, game, take your own advice. Let us actually do something. Finally, we arrived at the station the old man and the strange girl had disembarked at. Oh, that's surprising. They're waiting for the same train. Huh? Oh, look at that. A and E. That only just occurred to me. A and E. Accident and emergency. Entered the train, with the old man carefully leading the girl by the hand. He gave us a smile when he entered, patiently waiting until the girl was inside too before speaking to us. How serendipitous. We're taking the same train to go back to the first station. Have you two managed to find anything special? No, not really. Sandwiches are kind of special, but nothing else out of the ordinary. We did find the exit. Well, I found it. He was unfortunate to say not too useful for this sort of thing. Right, we also found one. We also have scanners. Scanners. Ah, the bluish light. Yes, it did have that too. I thought it more prudent not to take chances with it now. Besides, we can always return to these stations. I remained quiet, content with following the moving train as it went towards the midpoint station. I was wondering about what we'd find up there once we get the doors unlocked. We had found a library, but what did the others find? I was about to ask them, but the train stopped, and I figured perhaps it'd be better if we all shared the information when all returned, avoiding unnecessary repetition. Alright, let's go. Old man A and girl E already left the place. When Marco called me over, I realised that was the case. If we didn't head out promptly, the train would leave without us. Quickly, we stepped outside. I hope they'll all decide to come back here. A approached us while I pondered on everyone else's motives. The train drove off and he made me an offer. In the meantime, I believe E would like to communicate with more of you. We've been going for 3 hours. I think that is where we've done 2 escape rooms, if you can call them that. How do I? Do I actually need to save this? I will figure out how to save the game if I need to. I suspect the previous one was just like. Oh yes, it is. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me on my first venture into this game. Yes, I find the amount of text between the escape rooms a bit much, and also the escape rooms a bit linear, shall we say. Well, obviously you can click on like all the different things on the screen, but like the fact that it basically just you just need to click on things, you don't actually need to solve anything yourself, is slightly disheartening. Oh well. Hopefully it will get better. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me. So that will be all for today. I am planning to stream some Shadowverse on Tuesday, and I don't know how much Shadow's Code I actually want to stream, because I don't particularly want to do like the entire game, because with visual novels I feel that's a bit taking the mick. But we'll see. I might. I haven't decided what I'm going to do on Thursday yet, so maybe we'll do some more of this. Maybe we'll do something else. We will see. But for now, thank you all very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you soon. Bye bye for now.